Unfortunately, one teen is dead and 4 others are hurt following a shooting overnight in Milwaukee. We got squad cars responding to the scene of a shooting near 83rd and Brown Deer. This is around 11 o'clock last night. Now, this is video from when our 12 news crews arrived to that scene around 1 o'clock this morning. As you can see, it was heavy police presence there. Milwaukee police say one 19-year-old was dead at the scene, 2 16-year-olds, as well as a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old. They were all taken to the hospital with non-fatal injuries.
New at 10, a hit and run on Milwaukee's north side. This happened at 67th and Medford in the Capitol Heights neighborhood. Our crew saw a bicycle, a shoe on the ground as well, right in the middle of the road. We've reached out to police about any injuries here and what led to the hit and run.
Well, breaking news we're following this morning. Police responding to a violent car crash into a home in Milwaukee's northwest side. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this incredible video here. This is from Sherman and North from around 2 o'clock this morning. The car literally vertically into the side of that home, damaging the exteriors. The resident of that home, which is a pastor at a church across the street, telling 12 News exclusively, thankfully, nobody inside the home was hurt, but the crash did wake up his family in shock.
Milwaukee is seeing more and more so-called street takeovers, with at least 59 reported so far this year. The events pose a real threat to public safety as traffic is stopped in major intersections with large crowds and spectators watching cars racing or spinning out. That's not to mention the added danger of fireworks being thrown and, in some cases, even gunfire.
The level of violence that we are now tolerating is really sad.
Milwaukee Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Brenda C.O.W.S. sounding an alarm.
Losing children to gun violence is not normal.
C.O.W.S., just a few months on the job, says she's lost 24 of her students over the last year to homicides.
What has caught me off guard is the frequency that it's happening and the sense that there's not a coordinated effort to stop it.
A 15-year-old boy is charged with shooting and killing his sister earlier this week. Now, prosecutors are charging that teen as an adult. AJ Bayatpour has been going through those documents and joins us now with what we've learned today. AJ?
Natalie, the Milwaukee County DA's office filed charges today against the teen accused of killing his sister, 30-year-old Ashley Hudson. They also charged one of Hudson's sisters and Hudson's mother, who just last night told us things that at least one witness disputes based on these new court records. On Friday, only candle wax and messages in sidewalk chalk are what remain at the corner of MLK Drive and Valete Street. 3 days earlier, family and friends remembered Ashley Hudson at the spot where her life ended.
I'm shocked, but not too shocked because, like I said, I kind of figured they always, these family always had long history of fighting and feuding among siblings.
Relatives describe a fractured family.
The stuff that we said to each other, it wasn't right, it wasn't fair. I didn't never think it can get to this point, but it always been like this. Like, they always bumped heads, they always fought, it always been like this.
Prosecutors also charged this man in a crash that killed a grandmother in Milwaukee. Prosecutors say it started when Dante Miller took off from a traffic stop back in January. During the chase, they say he slammed into an SUV at 34th and Lloyd. 70-year-old Beverly Fair died at the scene. Miller was not at the scene of the crash, but left his cell phone in his car. Police later arrested him. He's charged with reckless homicide, hit-and-run driving without a license. New here on 12 News at 5, someone opened fire into a Milwaukee home, killing a 12-year-old girl. This happened in the middle of the night at a home near 73rd and Fairmount, just north of Hampton and east of Timmerman Airport. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard joins us live from Milwaukee Police District 7 tonight. Hannah, these officers are the ones who responded overnight.
Right, Deanna, and these investigators here at District 7, they are right now trying to find the person or people responsible for shooting this 12-year-old girl, marking the 10th shooting death of a child here in Milwaukee so far this year.
Emergency lights filled the pitch-dark sky in this quiet Milwaukee neighborhood Friday morning. Police responding to a deadly shooting near 73rd and Fairmount just after 1:15 a.m. Our cameras spotted upwards of 12 evidence markers in the middle of the street, a lone bullet casing among them. this scene, leaving a 12-year-old girl dead.
We're following breaking news from overnight, a quadruple shooting on Milwaukee's south side. It happened just before 9 o'clock last night near 10th and Mineral. That's in the city's Walkers Point neighborhood. This morning, all 4 victims are expected to survive. 12 News' Duke Carter, as you see here, joins us live from 10th and Mineral. Duke, this quadruple shooting continues a surge of violence as we head into the summer months.
Yeah, according to Milwaukee police, non-fatal shootings, unfortunately, 250 this year, 70 just within the last 4 weeks. The latest happening here at this intersection at 10th and Middle here in Walkers Point. Now, completely different scene. Quiet, cool, calm, and tranquil. But overnight, that was a completely different tale. So at 10th and Mineral, police say 2 26-year-olds and a 27-year-old and a 34-year-old were shot. Medics rushed them all to the hospital, and they are expected to survive. So that is the good news in this case. However, right now, police do not have anyone in custody.
I first met Lamaya Kamen in 2009 when her mom called us outraged that Lamaya's first-grade teacher yelled at her for playing with her braids and then cut one off with a scissors in front of the class.
What did you do?
I went to my desk and cried, and they was laughing. She threw it away.
The story went national. The teacher ticketed for disorderly conduct, and Lamaya moved on.
The last time I saw you, you were 7.
15 years later, here we are.
Lamaya reached out to me to share good news. The now 22-year-old is exploding as a hip-hop artist, known as 414 Jungle Baby, just signing a multi-record deal with a division of Warner Music.
People say, why did I call myself Jungle Baby? I consider Milwaukee as the jungle, and I was just a baby in here.
Did that incident follow you?
Yeah. I got plenty of people that hit me up like, oh, I want to interview you. You're the girl that got your hair cut off. And I was just like, I'm trying to leave it where it was at, but it's going to always be there. So I just became to accept it.
New tonight, the fight over facial recognition software. Milwaukee police want to use this new technology to search for suspects, but they're also facing some strong opposition. 12 News' Emily Pofall is joining us live at Milwaukee Police headquarters tonight. And Emily, some city leaders have already come out against this.
Right, Deanna. 11 members of Milwaukee's Common Council sent a letter to MPD Police Chief Jeffrey Norman opposing the software. Tonight it was the public's turn to sound off. The majority of them tonight saying that they don't trust the tech or the way the department says it'll use it.
Facial recognition technology, or FRT, takes an image like a single frame from surveillance video and compares that image to a database of photos of known individuals to help identify the person in the video.
We understood there was controversy around it.
In front of the city's Equal Rights Commission Wednesday, Milwaukee Police Chief of Staff Heather Huff said the department plans to use facial recognition company Biometrica, giving the private company access to 2.5 million booking photos and jail records.
The Milwaukee Police Department very much so intends to craft a policy with all of the community input we're receiving that ensures there's no misuse of the technology.
But that hasn't stopped community concern.
Half of these mugshots may be of people who have not legally been convicted of a crime.
Technology that misidentifies people, especially those from communities already facing systemic bias, cannot be the foundation of our public safety.
An academic study on facial recognition from the National Institute of Standards and Technology says with mugshot images, the highest false positives are in American Indians, with elevated rates in African American and Asian populations.
Sounds like there's some inherent kind of unreliability in the matching that it's doing. And that's because that software is like notoriously biased.
And that's why we'll never base an arrest off facial recognition alone.
Many are also worried their data will be misused or stolen.
It can be accessed, shared, and used in ways we cannot predict or stop.
Emily, it's important to note that Milwaukee police have already tested this technology.
Right, saying today that they've borrowed the tech from neighboring jurisdictions in the past to help solve cases. It's also important to note, Deanna, that right now there's no policy currently in place regulating the use of the software, though the department does say that it is developing a policy to put in place once they sign this new contract with Biometrica.
And no clear timeline yet on when that would be taking place. Emily Pofall, live tonight in Milwaukee.
And all of you were jurors
Yes.
in the Maxima
Yes.
Anderson case. So I'll start with you. I mean, just your experience being part of the jury. What were some of your takeaways? What was that experience like for you?
Heavier than I thought it would be. To be perfectly honest, you always think you see a lot of stuff on TV, and all right, this might not be any different, but it was very different. The evidence, seeing it presented, the family being that close to you, feeling what they're going through. This was it hit me a lot harder than I honestly thought it would. It really did.
In an emotional way? Or?
Yes, very much so.
Do you have kids yourself?
I have a 19-year-old son, so yeah, I would be just as much of a wreck as Sade's mother was if I had to go through this. So, yeah.
And Marilyn, what about for you? I mean, just being part of this jury. I mean, was it your first time being on a jury, or?
It was absolutely my first time being on a jury, and I didn't know what to expect. But it was definitely harder than I expected. I didn't think it would be so tough emotionally. Exhausted mentally by the end of the day, disgusted, and just saddened, and what made it so much more difficult was to have visualization of family members, and just knowing, what we're hearing, and not being able to talk about it with family or friends was difficult. So
will you pray for me? I need you. Little more faith in me. Will you wait for me? If I don't change the way that God is making me, I need you to understand. Still believing us, even though things have been changing.
For Sade, context of white supremacy. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information with non-white people. This program is not, nor has it ever been intended for people classified as white. You all do not need to listen to the cows. Beat it. Today's date, Saturday, June 21. Just went through the solstice and everything. Woo, forget Juneteenth. We went through the solstice. Summertime official, so they say. Today's date, Saturday, June 21, 2025. So I have been told. Oh, my God. Gus T, so thankful, elated, overjoyed to be back in Seattle. 206. In fact, even just on one alone, my escape, biblical in nature, because it was hell getting back, but woo, when I got back on Friday, it was supposed to be back on Thursday, but it was so bad I got back on Friday. Extreme heat warnings for the Milwaukee region. It's 85 degrees there right now, which is staggering because it's 7:30 p.m. Sun is going down, almost dusk, and it's 85 degrees. In Seattle, what's the weather? 61. That's close to our daytime high. Now, I'm not saying that I love 60-degree days in the summertime, but I mean, hey, we are not known for extreme weather heat-wise in terms of Seattle. Anyway, they're supposed to have all this 95 and all that heat through Monday. Not here. Matter of fact, I might have to turn my heat on before we finish the broadcast. You keep all that out in Badgerland. Anyway, not doing the compensatory call-in today. Gus T taking a moment to recount what did you learn from nearly a month in Wisconsin, especially since I didn't broadcast the last 2 weeks once the trial concluded, because then I had more time to do research, C.O.W.S. Robinson case, and Jeff Dahmer, and beyond, Milwaukee and Wisconsin in total. So what did you do, since the trial was a little shorter than what I anticipated? So I had a little bit more free time before departing. Got back safely. Shoes are in the trash. We will get to all that. First and foremost, going there for C.O.W.S. Robinson. Pray for the family. You can visit the website C.O.W.S Voice Foundation. You can get all the updates, what's happening with the case, the civil trials, the sentencing for the criminal trial. It was originally supposed to be August 15th, but they moved it up to August 1 that morning so that they will sentence the race soldier, convicted murderer who dismembered, slaughtered C.O.W.S. Robinson. Still has not told where did you store her skull. But that'll be August 1. You can get all the updates. Visit the website, C.O.W.S Voice Foundation.com. You can invest their GoFundMe right on the page to support their effort to remember C.O.W.S and support other black crime victims throughout Wisconsin. C.O.W.S Voice Foundation.com. But updates on what in the world did Gus T learn? What was the Milwaukee experience? I'm so thankful to be back safely and in one piece. Number one, and it was a grueling experience. Wow. With a capital G. Grueling. What did I learn? Have my notes and such, but man. What did Gus T learn? Quite a bit of it is in the audio that you heard at the beginning. All of those clips, I think it was announced, all of those clips, that's not the outlying regions, that is Milwaukee proper. From beginning to end, all of the segments that we heard. Importantly, I'll say quickly, the music was important there. We started with 2 different versions of Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, quintessential Seattle song. They've played it here for a good 30 years, every day, maybe even hourly sometimes. But you heard 2 different versions, the original Nirvana version, and then you heard Robert Glasper, victim of white supremacy, privileged black male, doing his cover of the same song. They sound wildly different, but it is the same song. And then lastly, I guess you could say S.A.U.L.T, SAULT, might be one of Gus's favorite groups. Certainly if you look, let's see your music catalog. Wow, you have a lot of their material, more so than most other folks. One of your favorite groups, yes? I reckon. I don't even think they're English. Anyway, but that is one of their newer products, Pray For Me, and that is a gospel album, no less. I played that because, well, I played the Nirvana songs, Smell Like Teen Spirit. I missed Seattle quite a bit. Thankful to be back. And even my last few days in Milwaukee, I was on South Shore Beach Park. I saw a young black mom. She was out with her children, and she had on a Nirvana t-shirt. They were walking on the beach, so I did have them on my mind for lots of reasons. And then once we actually returned, got back, and I thought that song matched the energy of what you heard in those clips, and we exited Pray For Me. I played that song every day preparing to go to court in the Sade C. Robinson murder trial. I would hear that getting dressed in the morning to go to court, sometimes on repeat. Sometimes I'd play that whole album, and sometimes it would just be that specific song. The full album, Acts of Faith. I told you it's a gospel album. I'd play that to go to court. You heard from some of the jurors from the trial who deliberated basically an hour to convict Sade Robinson's killer on all counts. But you heard from some of them at the very end of that audio segment, and they said it was the same thing. It was exhausting, and the mental toll, and I just didn't expect. And you can watch all the true crime on television and 48 Hours and everything else, and it's nice and tidy and all that. But, man, when you got Sade's mother, Sheena Scarborough, sitting right there, and her dad, Carlos Robinson, sitting right there, and grandmother Linda sitting right there, and you got to look at all of that. Uncle David is right there. You got to sit them and look at their response to all this. Losing a daughter, losing a niece, losing a granddaughter, her sister right there. You got to sit and see how they have been devastated by this. You got to look at all these grisly photographs and dismembered body parts. You got to look at all that. It was a grueling experience. Even one of the jurors, that was the black male that was talking, he said he had a 19-year-old son. But I thought that was significant for so many reasons. Even if you were in the courtroom, there was a pause where people thought he had nodded off for a moment, and they even had a sidebar and discussed all of that. And I was questioning, is he going to be tossed when they picked the final 12 jurors? He was not tossed. He remained on as a juror, and then he gave his opinion at the end. So, and I think they gave his name as well, but I didn't know. Privileged black male who was one of the final 12 jurors in the case delivered guilty verdicts on all 4 counts. But it was a grueling experience. The trial first and foremost, which I expected it to be, but just being in Milwaukee, which I also expected to be unpleasant, heinous, dangerous. It was everything that those audio segments should have conveyed. The danger, black people dying, the violence. It was all of that and more, because it is very different reading about all of that or watching it on television or hearing someone else talk about experiencing that, and then you go and see that for yourself. Oh, man. Whew. Milwaukee is so dangerous. It is so dangerous. Like, oh my God. Like, I thought Los Angeles was dangerous, and it is. But wow. Wow. Like, if you can imagine removing everything cool and fun that is Los Angeles, but you keep all of the ickiness, all of the violence, that would be Milwaukee. Obviously, it is way smaller than Los Angeles, but woo! Like, if you heard all my grousing about Los Angeles, right? So it was, if you got to pick, you got to go back and spend 30 days in one, LA or Milwaukee. Which do you take? LA, hands down, even with the wildfires. Are you serious? Milwaukee. In fact, I would never go back to Milwaukee. Never. And in fact, I would hope I never, ever, ever have to return to Wisconsin. Ever. Oh my God. Just, my shoes are in the trash. I made sure to trash my shoes before I even got to my residence. Not even going to wipe my feet on the dirt. In the trash. Most dangerous place I have been. The Sound Clip. They had a quadruple shooting. Black people. Yesterday they had a quintuple shooting. 4 black people shot. 5 black people shot. Killed one of the black people. As I knew this is all black people. I didn't know Milwaukee is a majority black city before I went there. I don't know why I didn't look at the census records prior to going and all that, but had I known, like, oh, wait a minute, this is a majority black city, oh my, I would have maybe had to give additional thought, like, man, do you really want to go? Are you sure you can't just watch this on TV? Like, ooh, it is so dangerous. And it's not just the shooting. It's not just that. Now they do shoot you. Quadruple shooting. Quintuple shooting. What's the word when it's 6? I have to even look. Is it sextuple? Is that it? I have to look. I'm ignorant, see. But it is so dangerous. They will shoot you down in Milwaukee. Don't you be mistaken about that. They will run you down. You heard that the hit and run 12-year-old on a bike? They will run you down. I saw so many the hit and runs. Well, forget that. They run over. I saw cars running through houses at an average of once a week. Once a week. You heard the audio segment. They had the car doing a headstand on its front bumper. You can see the pictures. They got video of this. Literally, the car is not, none of the 4 wheels of the car are touching the ground. It ran through a house and ended up vertical. So it's, what is that, about 4 meters tall? In the air, it's doing a headstand on its front bumper. Could tip over and fall on you. Then you're dead another way. That sort of thing was happening so frequently. I said, man, I bet you before I make it back to beloved 206, where I don't see cars running through houses every day, I said, man, there's going to be another car run through a house. Now, if you want to be super technical, I did not see another car run through a house before I left. I did see a car run through a Walgreens drugstore. Now, I said, hey, I won the bet because you're not supposed to be driving through those either. They do that in Milwaukee. So if I drive through a drugstore, we don't have drugstores like that. You know I will run you down. Sister say, Brother Gus, why they drive through so many houses and drugstores in Milwaukee? Brother Gus say, how much time you got in the list? Here we go. They promote widespread alcohol abuse in Milwaukee, really in Wisconsin. All they got is beer taverns. Remember I said if we were talking about LA, so if you took everything cool that's in Los Angeles, you remove all that and you replace it with beer taverns, that would be Milwaukee. That is about all they have is beer taverns. That's where Sade went, remember? Went to the club. Twisted Fishermen's, see? Dukes on the Water, see? Victor's, go to all these pubs, saloons, see? They got the little bucket where you can spit. That's Milwaukee. They don't do nothing, and even when they're not at the bar, they have all these little tacky festivals, and they got Summerfest. All they do is leave the bar and go to the festival and continue drinking. Brothers say, how these cars end up doing a vertical headstand, the wheels not even on the ground in Milwaukee? That's old Milwaukee. You know the beer? Old Milwaukee, see? They got all the brewery. Matter of fact, the baseball team, know what they call them? Call them the Brewers. Know what the nickname is? Call them the Brew Crew. I was going to get me one of them powder blue caps. See, if I was rich white fellow or had rich white friends, I'd maybe one of them powder blue brew crew caps. I can remember, oh, that's all they did. That's why Dr. Welsing, that's why Gus, he said sobriety would be best. I'd have that tattooed on my forehead if I lived in Milwaukee. Man, I have to be, can you loan me $5 so I can get the hell out of here? And sobriety would be best. Drive through your living room in Milwaukee, sobriety would be best. Let me get back to my, why they riding through the houses and drugstores, Brother Gus? Widespread alcohol abuse, poorly maintained roads. Apparently, there are large numbers of black males, and perhaps other people, but certainly large numbers of Leroys who do not have driver's licenses in Milwaukee County. I said maybe they're unfamiliar with the rules and regulations of the road, but they have lots of reports about illegal, unlicensed drivers in the area. Willful, reckless driving. They have street takeovers, drag racing, black people get on their motorcycles, Harley Davidson plan is there. Just wide array of reckless, willfully reckless driving. And I mean, you just see it all the time. People speeding and driving on the sidewalk. That's not how you end up at people. But just, man. I feel like you are taking your life in your hands in the crosswalk. Even if, you get the light, you get the little white person telling you you're acceptable to cross the street, you had better pray for me. Call on the ancestors. Hope I can get across the street, Lord. Please let them stay place. Ooh. It is so dangerous in Milwaukee. They run people over in the median in Milwaukee. They had Publix workers. They're out, trimming the hedges and cutting the grass on the median. This is a big median. Again, you're not supposed to drive on the median. This Milwaukee, we drive wherever, man. Drive through your living room. Run over city workers in the median. They got that on camera. We run over 12-year-olds on their bicycle, man. And run over your living room, back porch too. I would hope to never have to go back. But the number one, what did you learn in Milwaukee? It is astronomically dangerous for black people and for black males, especially. Underline, bold-faced print. Now that last part kind of astounded me because I went there for the murder trial of C.O.W.S. Robinson. There every day, black female. Hey, that quintuple shooting, that was Brene Vesley. She was the 19-year-old, same age as Sade, who was the one person killed in the quintuple shooting that was yesterday. The quadruple shooting was earlier, previously. Black female got shot and killed by her sister. Remember that? Mother got indicted on that one too. So it's not that you are safe as a black female, but all of the data I saw, and I mean from day one in Milwaukee until the day I left, it was varieties of people, and they had granular level detail that was unsolicited, meaning I did not at any point come down there and say, can you tell me about the plight of Leroy in Milwaukee? Matter of fact, I did not mention the term Black Misandry and Milwaukee until I got back to Washington State. That's not what I was there for. I was there, C.O.W.S. Robinson, but I'm going to say it again. The entire time I was there was granular level detail and data. Sometimes it would be old and moldy data going back over 50 years. Milwaukee is dangerous for black people in total, yes, but it is astronomically dangerous for black males in Wisconsin, and it's not even close. Really, you could put that front and center. Why are you not going back to Milwaukee, Gus? They destroy black males in Wisconsin in general, especially in Milwaukee. Got that? Reminded me of Atlanta. We got this here thing down to a science. Mess around if you want to, Leroy. Mess around if you want to, Leroy. Never going back in my life. What's one other thing that stood out massively? Geography is important. Oh my God, that was almost every day. Right up there with being a black male in Wisconsin ain't no privilege. Geography is important. I had maps of Milwaukee County, the city of Milwaukee, generally Milwaukee County, maps put up almost every day while I was in Wisconsin, all throughout the trial. Now, I haven't been to a ton of murder trials before. I don't remember in the Orenthal James trial, I don't remember F. Lee Bailey or us reading that they put maps of Brentwood or Los Angeles. I don't remember them saying that at any point, them putting maps up so you could see all these areas and putting Nicole Brown Simpson's house on the map and where OJ hangs out, and then putting that map up every day. I don't remember that. In this trial, they had maps up every day. I made a records request to get some of the specific maps that they had in court that show where Sade's white convicted killer, race soldier, where he drove, where he lived, where Sade lives, having all that on the map so that you can clearly see all of that information, where her remains were dumped, because it is so powerful, especially the more you know about the geography of Milwaukee. In fact, what did you learn from going, Gus T? I learned Sade Robinson's car was burned on 31st and Lisbon. You can look and see exactly where that is on the map. That's like north part of Milwaukee. Do you know what is 1.2 miles south of 31st and Lisbon? I said 1.2 miles. Unless you are super duper lazy or mobility challenged, maybe you're in a cast or wheelchair, got mobility issues and such, but for most people, you got some vitality, your legs work, you're not injured, you can walk 1.2 miles. If you walk 1.2 miles south from 31st and Lisbon, if you walk to 25th, you see it, 31st, 25th, if you walk to 25th and Kilbourne, 1.2 miles, do you know where you are? You are in front of Jeffrey Dahmer's house. It's a vacant lot now because they didn't put anything there when they knocked it down, but that's where you would be, 1.2 miles away. It took me going there to see this. Oh man, wow, that ain't no coincidence at all, and it's almost a straight shot. All you would do from 25th and Kilbourne, go north, go west to 27th, which is a main street, and just go north up 27. Doot, 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 doot. You're going to hit Lisbon. That would probably, most of that 1.2 miles would be you going north up 27. You could bike it, you could get your scooter, you could drive it. If you took an Uber, it would be like a $2 drive. And most of it would be you driving north up 27, and then you hang that left to go west on Lisbon, and there you go. You can start counting them down. 27, 28, 29, 30. Bingo. Look to the right. That's where the car was burned. And what do these two locations share? They are dumping grounds for black people. Trash and literally black people. They are dumping ground. I took a picture of the space where Jeff Dahmer's house used to be. There's nothing there but a sign. What that sign say, Brother Gus? Sign say, no dumping. We done all the dumping. We gonna do it here. Don't you do no more dumping. Although if you look around the neighborhood, so-called, it's a dump. It doesn't look like it has changed at all since 1991. And in fact, when I was there, Jeff Dahmer's neighbors, they were outside having a jamboree in a neighborhood that I say is a dump. It doesn't look like anywhere where I would want to park. Like I said, I would have tattooed on my forehead, woof, sobriety would be best. And can I borrow $5 to get the hell out of Wisconsin? See if I catch the train to Chicago or something. Got to get out of here. But they were jamming his neighbors next door. Incidentally, Jeff Dahmer's house is like 2 blocks from a school. Now, I don't know if that school was there when he was there, but Jeff Dahmer's a registered sex offender. Like, do you get to live 2 blocks from a school if you're a registered sex offender? I guess if it's a Negro school, they probably don't care. And where this school is located, this for sure has got to be a Negro school. So, yeah. Anyway, Milwaukee is dangerous. Geography is massively important. Oh my God. At least learn the geography about your area. You should, at minimum, if it's not going to be, I'm going to get some globes, I'm going to get a map, I'm going to take some geography classes so I can study. If you're not going to know the geography of the known universe, right, where the planets are located and where is old Pluto at, and I'll judge, see if it's a planet myself. At minimum, get a map of your county, parish. You should at least know, like, rudimentary geography of where you live. Natural landmarks, water, mountains, the geography of racism in your area, where the niggers stockpiled, all of that. Racially restricted regions in the area. You should be aware of all of that. And you can study all of that as a counter-racist project, family, individually, but geography is massively important. That is one of the major, I put that right with Milwaukee is dangerous for black people, especially black males. 1A and 1B, geography is massively important. Okay, now getting into other specifics, what did Gus T learn in Milwaukee? Let's see. Hurt my head. Have my list of exactly all the things that I did while I was in Milwaukee, which after I looked at it, I said, man, I might have missed my calling. I should have been a travel agent. Like, if there was a system of justice, maybe if I had talked to my guidance counselor, right, I would have been a pretty good travel agent, because apparently Gus T can put together very good travel experiences. Especially now, if I had lots of money, I would be amazing as a travel agent. I just said, went to California, LA, San Francisco, most constructive travel experience of my time on the planet. Easily, not even close. And these are both locations I had already been. I lived in San Francisco, so it's not like I went someplace I was unfamiliar with. Ooh, the Golden Gate Bridge. Nah, I'd already seen all of this stuff. LA too, already been there. Still, most constructive travel experience of my time on the planet. Even lame Milwaukee, dangerous as all get out, second most constructive travel experience of my time on the planet. Not better than LA, but, man, It was an amazing experience, even though I would never, ever, 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 ever want to go back to Milwaukee or the state of Wisconsin. Now, what all did you do while you were in Wisconsin? I wrote a list down because I had to look at it to see, like, wow, that is staggering for a little less than a month of the time that I was there. So, what did you do? Okay. I visited the Milwaukee County Historical Society. Whew. They have a lot of material on Jeff Dahmer and racism in general in Milwaukee. Can't even access all the Jeff Dahmer material that they have. Salty about that I was. I visited Lakeshore State Park. So pretty. I'm gonna have to note, many of these parks, it's not just, oh, you went to the park and had a swing set. No. Most of these parks, I think all that I'm going to mention, these are beaches. Parks that are beaches. The Milwaukee Art Museum, and Gusty was cool enough to go to the Milwaukee Art Museum at the exact moment that the Lakefront Festival of Art was also there. So it was like a massive concert outside and all these vendors with their own artwork and paintings. So it was a lot, whole day experience. And in fact, the Milwaukee Art Museum, that's the structure. It's white and it's got these long like tentacles that move when the museum opens, and then at lunch, and then again when it closes. So you have people out front, and the museum is on the water. So really, really pretty. They have a lot of great material at the art museum. Lots of German and even skulls. So Jeff Dahmer, they have a number of skulls in the exhibit. But Milwaukee Art Museum and Twofer, the Lakefront Festival of Art, where they also had lots of liquor. Told you can't do. We leave the pub, even we go to the museum. Well, I got to have my beer. I mean, I can't. We can't be without the brew. Brew crew. Woo! Now, I went to Veterans Park. Once again, all of the beaches, I think, all of the parks in Milwaukee are basically beaches. Beach, Veterans Park, which is really pretty. The Milwaukee Pierhead Lighthouse, a little bit south. I think it's more of a tourist shot, but it is really pretty right on the water. I went to the Milwaukee Public Museum, not to be confused with the Milwaukee Art Museum. I went to the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee. Got to get my research on and hit the library. Of course, I went to the Milwaukee Public Library, the main branch, as well as their Center Street branch. They also have a lot of material on Jeff Dahmer and the history of white supremacy in the region, even the history of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor at the Milwaukee Public Library, which I was so fortuitous. That library is directly across the street from the Milwaukee County Courthouse. So some days I would go to the Sade C. Robinson murder trial, and then when they gave us our lunch, I would just run across the street and go to the library and do research for an hour and then go back to court. Make the most of my time. I went to Bradford Beach. I went to Lake Park, which is also a beach directly next to Bradford Beach. I went to McKinley Marina, which is a beach, obviously. I went to both the historical grave marker and the actual grave site for lynching victim, privileged black male George Marshall Clark Cowbell. I visited the American Black Holocaust Museum. I'm a little bummed because if I had visited a little bit earlier, I could have seen black author Reggie Jackson. He has a book, Midwest Apartheid, talking about the history of white supremacy in the region. I could have seen that talk at the American Black Holocaust Museum, but I went a day too late. I went kayaking in Thinsville and Brown Deer, Wisconsin. That was amazing for a myriad of reasons. I'm not even sure, remember how I saw that. Oh, I was seeing them. The Milwaukee River goes right through the city, and so they'll have boating tours, and you'll see people kayaking there. It is so busy in that section. I was looking online for, can you go kayaking there? Found one. I learned geography that the Milwaukee River extends for about 60 miles. Most of it is north of the city. So they have all these kayaking tours where you can go north and then boat down the river. Lots of fun, but wow, the learning experience of that. All, and I mean all, of the Negroes in, call it, Mississippi. See, they put the W on it and see the M. If you flip it upside down, it looks like a W. So some people call Wisconsin Mississippi as a nickname to convey the racism against black people. The more that I learned, I do not think that that is accurate, and I would not support a nickname like that because it suggests, once again, that they only practice racism against black people in the South. Places like Mississippi, wrong. They practice white supremacy racism throughout the known universe. And I don't even think it's an accurate comparison because in Wisconsin, they literally have stockpiled all, and I mean all, of the Negroes in Milwaukee County. They don't do that in Mississippi. Black people are dispersed throughout the state of Mississippi. I've met black people who live all over Greenville, Greenwood, Mississippi. Or I think I got it correct the first time. Greenville, Mississippi, certainly Jackson, Mississippi, Ripley, Mrs. I have met black people who are all throughout the state. They have HBCUs. Grambling, I believe, is in Mississippi. So they have lots of the, oh, whoops, my apologies. Grambling is not in Mississippi, but still, they have HBCUs in Mississippi. They do not have all the black people just piled in one city or one county in Mississippi. That is the case in Wisconsin. And really, they're all piled up in one county, and then they piled all of them up in one section in one county. That's not what they've done in Mississippi, but whatever. The kayaking, I'll share a word on that later. I went to Warnemont Park, which is where Sade Robinson's first remains washed up on shore. That is not actually in Milwaukee. That's next to the airport in Cudahy, which is south geography. But stunning park, and racially restricted region Cudahy, they don't have no Negroes in Cudahy. Doesn't even look the same as Milwaukee. I did the Jeff Dahmer tour. In fact, I was just finishing up the Jeff Dahmer tour this time last week in Milwaukee. It was a pretty Saturday. The Brew Crew, they were out playing a home baseball game, and I'm on the Jeff Dahmer tour, where I did learn, took pictures, quite a bit of info. That's another one. So you leave the pub, well, let's go do the Jeff Dahmer tour. All you do is walk to bars. Now, they do tell you quite a bit about his chomping and racism and necrophilia, but you are, because I mean, that's what Jeff Dahmer did. And I'm going to go to the bar, see if I can find me some niggers to, delectable. I did the kayaking and the Jeff Dahmer tour on the same day. Busy, busy, busy. I did jazz in the park, and actually the park that they picked, there was a Wisconsin historical marker to Joshua Glover. Who is Joshua Glover? Privileged black male who was a slave in the 1800s. He ran away, and they were able to rescue and free Joshua Glover. So they have a whole little spiel about the Fugitive Slave Act and how that led to the Civil War and what have you. But they have a big monument to Joshua Glover right there in the park where I visited for jazz in the park. I got African curry from Izzy's, and they had the horses come out for the Milwaukee Police Department, race soldiers. It was a cool little time. Black children were out blowing bubbles and all the rest of it. I did the river walk. Milwaukee River runs right through the city. They have all the tourist boats and everything. The Bronze Fonz is located there. Welsing Moment. Henry Winkler from Happy Days. I just saw he did commencement speech for graduation someplace, but they got a bronze. They didn't get a pale fonz. They got the bronze fonz on the Riverwalk. I did the Puerto Rican Day Festival. That was a couple weeks ago, which was followed by a street takeover. You heard about that in the intro. I visited Cupertino Park Beach, really pretty. I visited South Shore Park Beach, really pretty. City Hall, which was important. You heard the segment at the end. The meeting on the use of facial recognition technology by the Milwaukee Police Department. Oh my God. I had that meeting on my calendar to be in attendance before I ever left Washington State, and I saw that it was going to be closer to, or really my last full day in Milwaukee was when that meeting was happening. So I was like, oh, that's fortunate. I'll still be there and I can go. Even if it lasts all night long, I can go. I don't leave until the next day. Wow. Just wow. I'm so glad I went to that meeting. Woo, lots I could say about that. Okay, so my last full day in Milwaukee. What did I do? I got up that morning. I went to the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee. I'd been bunches of times already, but it was get as much as you can on the last visit. So I visited the archives and I visited the American Geographical Society Library because geography is important. White staff member told me almost as a one-off, just, mentioning as a throwaway, oh, you should check out the American Geographical Society Library. They have so many great maps. They probably have some information on the history of racism, redlining in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in general. Boy, do they ever. And you know what they don't got? They don't have no Negro staff in the American Geographical Society Library. Not that I expected them to, but do you know black geographical experts? Do you know black people that got a degree in geography? I don't. I'm going to tell you another thing. Them white people at the American Geographical Society Library, they are not ignorant about racism. Them brothers and sisters, all white, they had so much material piled up, and I mean maps about the history of racism in Milwaukee County and Wisconsin. I mean racks, books. You want the maps that show the covenants? You want the maps that show the lead? What you need, Black Brother Gus? We got it, and we not ignorant about it. We can sit and talk to as long as you want to talk about racism and geography and Milwaukee. As long as you want to chat, we will gleefully do so. Matter of fact, we go down memory lane for a second, just for 1 second. Now this is all one day. I go to the American Geographical Society Library, which I had never heard of or anticipated visiting. I'm inundated with information. Maps, and some of it's digital, so you can just download it. What, oh my God. So I'm doing all this, and I told you the white people were so knowledgeable about racism and informed, and of course they know about Sade Robinson, they know about Jeff Dahmer. So I say, what brings you here? Sade Robinson. Bam, they point to that on the map. I say they used it as a dumping ground. Duh. They go back and show the history of that region of Milwaukee. I think it was C13 on the map. What's the history of that region? White people knew 100 years ago this is going to be a dump. And it wasn't even no niggers there then. They already know this is going to be a dump. What's the code geographically for the region where Jeff Dahmer lived, which is 1.2 miles from where Sade Robinson's car was burned? That's C15. White people knew 100 years ago this is going to be a dump. Won't even know niggers here. It's going to be a dump. They went and got all that information in writing. Got pretty binders to keep it neat. And then sit around tell me white people ignorant about racism. Psh, you obviously don't travel and you don't study racism. So since I got gleeful white people informed about racism, some of them young, some of them old, some of them males, some of them females, they might have been LGBTQ, I don't know. It is Pride Month. But they were white and they were not ignorant about racism. Now, I said, well, since they're so willing, Whitefish Bay. We heard about Whitefish Bay from, man, James Lowen's book hopped up now, number 2 on the book club. Regretfully, too, right? I mean, maybe it should be number 1. Nah, Delectable Negro. But it is number 2. I sat there and I said, have we talked about Whitefish Bay before? Yep. Matea Taylor, she mentioned Whitefish Bay when she was just with us. I ain't spent no time hanging out in Whitefish Bay growing up in Milwaukee. It took Gus going to Milwaukee because of where I stayed. I stayed in Glendale when I first got there, which is technically not Milwaukee. It's north, but I mean, it's 9 minutes from the courthouse. 9 minutes from the courthouse and 1 block from a Trader Joe's. They got all that poison lead water in Milwaukee. Yes, I want to be right next to a Trader Joe's so I could easily go get water, unpoisoned water, and vegan food. But in staying in Glendale, I ended up being right like walking distance from Whitefish Bay. I did walk to Whitefish Bay one Sunday after trial ended just because trying to relax, clear my mind. It's quiet in Whitefish Bay. They don't run you down in Whitefish Bay. Now, they might run you out of town if you are a Negro once the sun goes down, but they don't run you down in the crosswalk in Whitefish Bay. I had to remember James Lowen. What did he say about Whitefish Bay? James Lowen he writes, across the United States, African Americans are still understandably wary of towns with white in their names, such as Whitesboro, Texas, White City, Kansas, Whitehall, Arkansas, Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin. And again, all the foregoing communities probably kept out African Americans. Wisconsin is prominently featured in this book. Sundown towns, racially restricted regions. I'd forgotten. Dang, Wisconsin was talked about that much in that book? Yes. So I mentioned this to the folks at the American Geographical Society Library. They had already read Sundown Towns. They knew about the mentions of Wisconsin and, of course, Whitefish Bay. They told me, do you know what the nickname is for Whitefish Bay, Brother Gus? I said, no, what is it? White Folks Bay. Change the name. I like that better than Whitefish. Anyway, make it plain. Change the name. White Folks Bay. Which is, if you look on the map, or even if you go either or, how is this not Milwaukee? It's right there. You can, I mean, it's not no travel distance. It's right there. It would just be a part of the city. It's not even a town. It's the village of Whitefish Bay. The folks at the American Geographical Society Library, they said, Brother Gus, did you notice when you go to Whitefish Bay, the street signs, they don't even look the same as Milwaukee. And they don't. Want to make it clear we ain't got nothing to do with them niggers in Milwaukee. They pulled up the maps of Whitefish Bay specifically at the library. Said, let me show you the racial covenants in Whitefish Bay. They start pulling up the exact language. No niggers or Ethiopians in Whitefish Bay. And in fact, she pulled up, this is a white woman, she pulled up a whole neighborhood. It was about 36 houses. They did a special type of covenant. And she said this, she said, oh my gosh, look at this. This is really unique. They only have like 1 or 2 of these types of covenants in the state. She said, what happened here, Brother Gus? This is when she went and counted. She said, wow, this is like 36 houses of white people. they got together privately and said, we don't want no Negroes or Ethiopians in our neighborhood. They got together and pooled their money and put this into writing law after the houses were built. And she explained that it's way more expensive to do it that way back then, as opposed to you put the covenant in place before the neighborhood gets built up. No Negroes going to be here. That's the cheap, easy way to do it. If you build all the houses and everything and then try to go back and retroactively say, whoa, 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 we got to make sure we don't get no Leroys, that's going to cost you a lot of money. These 30 households, they got together and put their money down. No Negroes in Whitefish Bay. It said no Negroes or Ethiopians. For whatever reason, I cracked up laughing at, like, Ethiopians. They didn't even say African, like, no Ethiopian. And they don't have no Ethiopians in Whitefish Bay even today. So I get all that, and I get all that it has more relevance because on this day, Gus T is going to a lecture in Whitefish Bay. Get to that later. So I go get all this at the University of Washington, Milwaukee. I leave there. I go to City Hall. That facial recognition technology meeting. Now, this should be a separate podcast. Like, I recorded the meeting. My intention the whole time was to upload that separately so I could talk about what happened at the meeting before that. Just, oh my God, what to say? I had that on my calendar before I left before I left Washington State. So this is, I had planned to be there for this event like months ago. Whew. To go to that meeting, it was mostly white people. Milwaukee is a majority black city. They're talking about the use of facial recognition technology. It's mostly white people at the meeting. Spectators, the people up on the board that are part of the Equal Rights Commission, and the police representatives that are up talking, it's mostly white people. They're talking about racism constantly, but it's mostly white people. In fact, I told lots of black people, like, oh my God, we should go to this meeting. Especially, you live here. We should go to this meeting, hear what they're talking about and all that. No one I told, classified as black, was excited. In fact, nobody I told was excited about going to this meeting except the white woman at the American Geographical Society Library. She wasn't just excited. She said, because of scheduling conflicts, I'm unable to attend, but I'm aware of it, and I have a friend going. She's going to take notes and will debrief me after it's done. White people, ignorant about racism. Please. Let me, and this is recorded, but I'll give you a snippet from the facial recognition technology meeting. They started Heather Huff, who I suspect is a white woman, racially ambiguous, but I think she's classified, accepted as white. She started representative with the police department. So we can get this facial recognition technology. We can get these cameras. She starts this meeting off. She said, look here, brothers, sisters, MPD, Milwaukee Police Department, we don't have to be at this meeting. Be clear. By law, if we want the cameras, we just get the cameras. We don't have to talk to y'all about nothing. We here, we'll talk, but by law, we ain't got to talk. We do what we want. We MPD. You understand? Let's do the meeting. Man, make it gangster. I said, call it white folks bay, man. Just be honest, but don't come in here lying and telling me we about justice and telling me we about a system of democracy. Hey, it's white folks bay. Niggers don't live here. Beat it. Beat it, Leroy. Beat it. Hey, We're going to do what we want to. Y'all come in here and do all your whining and complaining. You're going to George Floyd, me. We're going to do what we want to. And we as the white people in charge at Milwaukee Police Department, we're going to do what we want to. If we want facial recognition cameras, smile. That's how they start the meeting. I loved it. Oh my God, I love it. And so many people, that's where they started with their comments like, do what? You gonna come in here and tell us we do what we want to. We ain't even got to talk to y'all, brother. You understand that? Like, do what? Do what? That's how you gonna start off coming to talk to me about facial recognition technology? And now after Heather Huff, after she said that, Heather Huff for the Milwaukee Police Department, she said, hey, y'all doing all this whining, complaining about oversight and cameras and I want y'all. Hey. They use facial recognition the facial recognition technology. They use it up. You can't go see no Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers. Who with the cheeseheads? They use the technology at the Green Bay facility. They use the technology at Disney World. You trying to go see Mickey and them? They got facial recognition. Matter of fact, you trying to get on a plane to go see Mickey and them? They got facial recognition technology. So shush, you old unsophisticated. They got it everywhere. They don't even have oversight. You don't even know what kind of oversight they got. Brett Favre might have access to your pictures up at Green Bay. How do you know? We're going to have oversight, MPD. Ain't Gus T been talking about metaphors? Now, when white people get uppity and they're going to start making comparisons, oh, wait a minute. Let's see, are you making false comparisons? Gus T, I'm sitting there with my Seattle Supersonics hat on. I'm about to check in for my flight. I'm very familiar. Yes, they do have facial recognition technology at the airport for TSA. You got to have that real ID now. And yes, they do have the camera. However, Gus T, I'm expert at it now. I pull out my identification. I step up to the TSA agent. I look and find that camera. I step to the side because you can tell them, and you should say it loud. I decline the facial recognition. Oh, okay. All right. No problem. No problem. Mm-hmm. Same way, I don't have to go to see Brett Favre. None of the Green Bay Packers. I don't have to go and see none of that. Incidentally, do you remember we read about Devontae and them, Sierra, Abigail? Do you remember we read about them racist white lesbians celebrating Pride Month, and they loved Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers, and they went out to Green Bay to go get a football, and little Devontae, I think he got the football, and they got mad, like, what? This little nigger boy done stole my black football? I love me some Brett Favre. You gonna take my... Remember that? And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Green Bay is a racially restricted region? What? Wait a minute. That came up at the American Geographical Society library, that they don't have no niggers except the ones on the team. They don't have no niggers in Green Bay. Brett Favre didn't do nothing about that, I guess. Any hoodles. So all this great information at the talk on facial recognition technology, they unpack all of their goofy metaphors, because you don't have to go to Disneyland or Disney World either. In fact, that's not even in Wisconsin. How many black people in Milwaukee going to Disney World? Get right, man. And they pointed out, hey, man, I don't have to go see the Packers play, and I can decline the facial recognition technology at the airport. I can't opt out if you put cameras on the top of the light pole on my block. I can't opt out and walk outside. Whoa. Don't get Leroy's face on the camera. I don't participate in all that now. You know, turn that camera around, blur all me. I can't do that. Now, do you know what else stood out to me? Because I done told you, what's the number one thing that you learned about all this, Brother Gus? Milwaukee is astronomically dangerous for black people, especially black males. Now, at the facial recognition technology meeting at City Hall, the white enforcement officials, they told us, say, hey man, we've had great success with this technology. We borrow it from our neighbors like Netflix, and you share your Netflix password. That's what they said. We borrow the technology from some of our neighboring regions, and look at some of the hoodlums and thugs we've got off the street. Look at this here. And they started showing the mugshots of all the folks that they've got off the street. Apparently, all of the criminals in Milwaukee that they want to get off the street are privileged black males. Apparently, don't know Hmong people, no Laotian people, no white people, no black females. Only black males commit crime in Milwaukee. I am never going back to Milwaukee again. I'm so glad many people pointed this out when it got time to speak about all this. Many white people even pointed out, and I have to give the details of this has to be a whole separate podcast because you have to listen to what was said at this meeting. This is not a purchase to get this facial recognition technology by MPD. This is a trade, which even that had confused me. I had to be at the meeting. What do you mean trade? So the trade is the MPD, they will get free facial recognition technology cameras from the company Biometrica. Biometrica, they will get 2.5 million mugshots from MPD. Who is in this 2.5 million mugshots? Uh-oh. Who gets arrested in Milwaukee? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Who were the only criminals that they showed at the meeting? Uh-oh. Many white people pointed out. So you just gonna dump all of Leroy's pictures to Biometrica? That's what y'all gonna do to get free cameras? Give all these pictures of Leroy, and then, so now the data set that the camera company is working with, we just got lots and lots and lots and lots of arrested black males. Lots of white people pointed this out at the meeting. Lots of white people pointed this out at the meeting. I didn't see very many black males at the meeting. Now, maybe they've already been locked up. Lead poisoning messed with your brain computer, so maybe they didn't know the time. Maybe they got lost trying to find City Hall. Maybe they got arrested trying to get to City Hall. Maybe they didn't have a driver's license. But there weren't that many black males at City Hall. That was one of the key points of this meeting at City Hall. Looked like this might have a disproportionate impact on Leroy in lots of ways. Oh, well, including these cameras don't even work very well for identifying dark-skinned people, which was pointed out repeatedly at the meeting. More on that because you can hear the meeting I recorded. All of this was one day now, so I went to University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee. Maps, racism, white folks bay. Okay. Go to the facial recognition meeting. Now, I had to leave early. I had to do this. I had to look at my watch. Look at the meeting. Look at the watch. Look at the meeting because I already told you, man, I got to go to Whitefish Bay. What's happening in Whitefish Bay? This also got recorded. It's a separate podcast. I can talk about this later. But I visited the Wisconsin Black Historical Society the previous day because there was supposed to be a talk on racism and the history of Milwaukee. The lecture got canceled. I was disappointed. To compensate, I went to the beach. No problem. I saw, this author is going to give a talk tomorrow in Whitefish Bay. I'm going. What was the author? Thomas M. Jacobson, white man, racist suspect, says he's so-called Jewish. What's the book? Underdog, Against All Odds, The Fight for Justice. got a picture of Jeff Dahmer, several pictures of Jeff Dahmer on the front of the book. Oh, I'm going. And it's in Whitefish Bay. I'm going, and I'm going to be front row, which I did. Oh, my God. It's only 2 Negroes at this event in Whitefish Bay, and this event is being held at the Harry and Rose Sampson Family Jewish Community Center in Whitefish Bay. 2 Negroes in attendance. I am one. I go sit on the front row. Of course, it's in Whitefish Bay. They have wine, cheese, almonds. I started to get me a whole bottle of wine. I said, I'm going to be on my counter racist grind. I get me a glass of wine, a bottle of water, and I go sit front row. You'll hear the talk. They get to the Q&A. I put my hand up first. I read that section from James Lowen's book because Mr. Jacobson said that he fought against housing discrimination in Milwaukee. Hey, we in White Folks Bay, where they deliberately kept out Negroes. Did you fight against that? Oh, man, you could hear the gasps in the room. I got it on record. Old Jacobson responded like a race soldier and commenced a line. I mean, he was sitting right in front of me because I was on the front row. He commenced a line to my face. Things have changed so much, Brother Gus. You can't do nothing like that now. I turned around and looked at that room full of white people. I hit him with a fuller. Them race soldiers in the room commenced to snickering like, oh, Brother Gustin got us, Lord. Why did we let this nigger in? He stole our wine and everything. Put him out. Put him out. Now, I did have to think in my brain computer. Now, Brother Gus T, you are not in Seattle. You are in Wisconsin. You're not even in Milwaukee anymore. You are in White Folks Bay. White Folks Bay. You are alone. And when you leave, it will be dark and you will be in a racially restricted region. Sundown town. The sun is gone. Proceed. Brother commenced to line to me, and I forgot all that. Whoa, Brother Jacobson. You keep saying that they didn't let blacks and Jews live in White Folks Bay. I spent the morning at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. They didn't show me nary a covenant that said nothing about no Jews being restricted, and I started reading the covenants. It said Negroes and Ethiopians. It didn't say nothing about no Jews being restricted. He said, well, they made lots of progress, Brother Gus. Now, wait a minute. And then he said, whoa, Brother Gus, you came prepared. I didn't think you were going to have questions like that, Lord. White woman, last one, because this should be a whole separate podcast about this meeting in Whitefish Bay. White woman, racist suspect, ran up to me. She said, Brother Gus, I want to say, black people, you all got to make an effort to come over here. Talking about we need to come to Whitefish Bay. You all can't just stay out in Milwaukee. I mean, it should be more black people here. Why don't you all make that first effort, that first step, an effort to come over here? And I said, now, really? You all violently kept Negroes out of White Folks Bay? Who wants to come back when they have violently even got white children out? That's in James Lowen, but got white children out. We gonna put a no Negroes? No nigger. We will beat you. That who wants to come in? And I said, wait a minute. Did you invite any Negroes to this here talk this evening that's gonna be about Jeff Dahmer? I think it's black people in Milwaukee that would want to hear that. Did you invite any black people? Come on over. It ain't the day of White Folks Bay is done. It's white. Matter of fact, we're going to take that out too. Everybody Bay. They say all lives matter. Well, this is everybody's Bay. Come on over. We're going to have some wine and cheese, and I will give you a ride back to Milwaukee because we don't want you staying here overnight. just playing. Not really. But come on over, Leroy. If you got any sisters or cousins, we'll make room and come on over and we'll have fun and we'll even talk about what y'all gonna do for Juneteenth. Did you do any of that? And she said, no. It does not get any better than tacky. These white people were not ignorant about racism neither, because they recognized immediately when I turned around and looked at that room. He said, we done made so much progress, and you can't have no all white areas now, and you can live wherever you want to. We got fair housing. When I turned around and looked at that room full of white faces and that one black brother who looked like he was probably in a tragic arrangement, that was his ticket out, because he had that look like, man, don't be over here talking about no black brother, and you want to give me no fist bump and pound and do all your nigger hands. Beat it. You're going to mess my thing up. I got a good thing going out here in Whitefish Bay. The white folks don't give me no trouble, and I ain't going to mess that up messing around with you. Now beat it. I'm very familiar with that look from other black people, and that is exactly what the brother conveyed to me very quickly when he gave me a glance. They beat it. Stay safe, black brothers. Stay safe. So that was my one full day, UW Milwaukee, facial recognition, Whitefish Bay. Whew. What an experience. And the last two were recorded, so you can hear how all that transpired. And that same tacky, suspected racist white woman who came up, black people need to come to Whitefish Bay and hang out with her, all that. She did, after she got through all that foolishness, she did say, well, I'm going to give you my number. I can give you the fellow's name. I'm going to give you my number. My friend, he's white, homeowner here in Whitefish Bay, his covenant has that language in it, He called me when he was reading over his deed and found all that. And he said, you can't have no Ethiopians. Can you believe it's got that? He said, I'm going to give you his number. You can call him. He'll tell you all about it. He was so surprised when he found that. Said, you've got no Ethiopians. He can't. Anyway, we'll see if we can get him as a guest on the program. Whitefish Bay. Now, White Folks Bay. That was all one day. Get to that later. Let's see. I visited, I just said, the Wisconsin Black Historical Society. And I visited Pizza Shuttle, which was right across from where I stayed at to end my trip, next to the McKinley Marina. Pizza Shuttle is important because that is where Sade C. Robinson worked for 4 years. So her energy spirit is enormous there. They have a massive mural that is downstairs. You have to walk upstairs to get to the restaurant, so the mural is right downstairs. You pass it going to the stairway, and they've had all these flowers and pink teddy bears and stuffed animals to just pay honor to her legacy and what have you since the trial and verdict and everything. So I went by there bunches of times, took photographs and such of that. But those are all of the major places, I think, for the most part, that I visited while in Milwaukee. If you see the pictures that I posted from the various locations, being out on the beach and museums and some of the other locations that I was at during the Jeff Dahmer tour and kayaking, you would think, wow, Gus had an extraordinary time in Milwaukee, was maybe even on vacation. Wrong. It was not a pleasant time. It was grueling. Milwaukee is so dangerous, and so much of it, like I said, centered around the Sade C. Robinson trial, which was not fun at all. Just a excruciating experience. Correct verdict, but excruciating experience nonetheless. And Gus T. should have been a travel agent, because, I mean, wow. Given time, I can really pinpoint and pick out quality things to do that will relate to counter-racism, generally speaking, when visiting an area. Now, all of that said, other specifics to pinpoint from what I learned from being in this environment. Wow. Let's see. Specifically, I guess going back to the trial. Well, I guess it connects to the trial, but I would say just in general, white people in the Wisconsin region, Milwaukee specifically, and throughout Wisconsin, they lie so aggressively and immediately That environment is dangerous for lots of. I really didn't know, and I didn't appreciate. Milwaukee is a majority black city. I think the white population is just a little over 30%. It might not even be that much that actually live in Milwaukee City. It is very low, and so that for me, that would make the white people there even more dangerous because it's really not that many white people there. You have interlopers certainly, and visitors, and white people who live in the surrounding suburbs who come into the city of Milwaukee to work and visit and play and all that, practice racism, but they don't live there. So for me, that would make them even more suspicious. It's not that many of you all here. You want to get away from the Negroes. They call it white flight. So why should I be kicking it with you? Why should I be thinking that you are some really, and especially we're in Wisconsin. You all have deliberately stockpiled all the niggers in the lean part of Milwaukee County and Wisconsin in general. So why am I going to be thinking that you are somehow special and different from the rest of these white people, like the white folks in White Folks Bay? And why would I think you are any different? That did not seem to be a widespread way of thinking about all of this amongst other black people that I talked to in the area. In fact, I heard so many times while I was there, not all white people are racist, which is stunning because I don't remember saying while I was there, all white people is racist. I don't remember saying that. I don't go out with that as a campaign, but I had black people tell me that voluntarily, repeatedly, while I was there. Our conditioning has been conditioned. At any rate, I had that so you can compare and contrast. I had black people repeatedly telling me, Brother Gus, not all white people are racist, from people who don't study racism or what it means to be classified as white. And I had white people telling me, oh, I listened to your podcast. To any and all of the white people who say they're connected with Sade C. Robinson's case, they care about her, they got some love for Sheena Scarborough, you all are the worst and lamest race soldiers of them all. Middle finger to all of the white people who say, I'm down with Sade, I want to be a part of the foundation. Middle finger to all of them. I wouldn't care how much money they invested. I wouldn't care if they won the search team. Are you out of your mind? You are white in Wisconsin. Racist suspect for the rest of life. You are white in Milwaukee. You Maxwell Anderson's cousins, as far as I'm concerned. You is white in Milwaukee. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to call these cats out by name. Lori Bird gonna come and talk to me. I interviewed her. Lori Bird gonna come and talk to me. I love me some Sheena Scarborough. It was a shame what he did to Sade. I've been watching the case the whole time. This lame suspected race soldier gonna come and lie in my face. The white people know. We've dumped lead on all these black people and poisoned them, and they got these lame schools. We have conditioned them to kill and shoot each other. Really, run each other over in the street, really. We can lie and do whatever we want. We got them. We done stomped on these black people so good. We got them. Lori Bird, white woman. Where Lori Bird live? Cudahy. Geography is so important. They don't have no niggers in Cudahy. Warnemont Park is in Cudahy. That's where they dumped Sade Robinson's body. I said, Lori Bird, you been to Warnemont Park? She said, yep. Used to hang out there, drink liquor, hang out at night, party, all my white friends, because we don't have no niggers in Cudahy. Said, Lori said, I bet you Sade's white killer, his white parents, his white sister, stepmom, I bet they didn't know. Here we go, ignorant white people again. She said, they didn't know. Them sitting in court now, this is the first time they realized he did this. They were thinking it was no way and all this old nonsense. I said, Lori Bird, racist suspect. This dude got a 20-year criminal record. Felony charges against his own white relatives. They've been right there the whole time for 20 years, paying court fees and all that. They are very informed about his criminal conduct. Got the receipts to prove it, literally. Lori Bird ain't ignorant. Lori Bird is a Wisconsin native. She been watching Sade Robinson on her TV for a year. Lori Robinson knew all about his criminal arrest records. Oh, yep, that's right, that's right. Why are you talking all this nonsense to me about ignorant white people? They didn't know Max Anderson out here killing and chopping up and keeping skulls in the bed. I didn't know nothing about. They just nah, man. White people are not ignorant about racism. Stop lying in my face, Lori Bird, acting like, oh, I care so much. I've been watching The Family and I just want to support, and I send Miss Scarborough, send her a letter with my love and warm wish. Man, get your race soldier hind parts out of here. I didn't even want to sit and talk to her. And then Lori Bird gonna follow me around. What's your podcast? I'm gonna do some, keep tabs on you. We got this strange nigger down here. You mess up our other niggers. We got them nice and brainwashed. Man, and it's lots of that. That was my whole experience through the trial. All of these lame, suspected racists. I didn't go to Milwaukee to squabble with other non-white people. If you don't think all white people are racist, VGQ. It just typically for me would mean I'm not hanging out with you or your white friends that you have concluded are not racist. Apparently, I'm just going by the record. Apparently, Sade Robinson also concluded not all white people are racist. That is a fatal error frequently for non-white people. That is not my view, and I'm going to make sure to say it more frequently now. I don't proselytize. You check my record. I don't go and try and convince you all that all white people is racist. What podcast is that? Well, that's the title, and that's been the focus. We got to convince y'all because y'all are ignorant, stupid. I don't do that, but non-white people come at me aggressively. Even some of you cows listeners, all of y'all can back up off me. What I told you at the beginning of the year, you take your not all white people is racist hind parts and beat it. That's what I said from the beginning of the year. Now I'm going to be more aggressive about that because I was appalled. Like, what? At one point, it was because I said white people have stockpiled all the black people into Milwaukee. They don't even let black people live in Cudahy. That's fact. Now I got maps to evidence that. Why does that warrant a victim of racism to say, whoa, 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 Brother Gus, not all white people are racist? Why would you even conclude that in Milwaukee where you're not around white people? Matter of fact, go to Whitefish Bay and tell me not all white people is racist. Go to Thinsville. Let me spell it. Thinsville. It's a little over 3,000 people. Do you know what the demographics of Thinsville, Wisconsin, which is about a 15-minute drive from Milwaukee, not even 20 miles, I don't think, 86% white. Do you know how many niggers they got? 0. And I mean, when you look on the census, how many niggers live in Thinsville? It will say 0%, not 0.8, not 0.5, not 0.1. It will say 0. And do you know how many niggers I saw when I was in Thinsville? 0. That means, Gus T, you visited 2 racially restricted regions while you were in Wisconsin. Yes, I did, and lived to tell about it. That was another one when I thought of that, like, woo, y'all for real. All of the criticizing, and Gus don't know what he talk about. Middle finger to you too, man. Gus T went to 2 racially restricted regions 2,000 miles from where he lived and was still Gus T. I'm here reading James Lowen, questioning white people. Ain't no black people around. I don't even live in this time zone. I came to get on my counter-racist grind. I didn't come to fuss at Leroy. I didn't come to fuss at no black people because we don't agree on racism. All of y'all can beat it. Middle finger forever. Middle finger forever. Go hang out with your white people that you say ain't racist. Anyway, kayaking in Thinsville was amazing. And in fact, I was in Thinsville on the day they had Lion Fest. They had so many resources. What? And that means you were at a carnival in Thinsville and you still didn't see no black people? Nope. I didn't clown too much that day in Thinsville. Woo. Pray. That's what. Pray for me, and please, I hope we can get back to Milwaukee. Not that Milwaukee is safe, but Jesus Christ, it is not a racially restricted region with 0 black people. That's another one. You are black and talking this nonsense that not all white people are racist. You live 15 miles from a racially restricted region where there are 0 black people. How? And I mean, this is on the map. It is literally, you can walk 1 street block from Brown Deer, a region that has about 30% black people. It's not Milwaukee, north of Milwaukee, but lots of black people live in Brown Deer, Wisconsin. You can walk across the street from Brown Deer, Wisconsin to Thinsville, 30% Negra, 0% just by going across the street. How is that possible? And the environment transmogrifies. Now, instead of trash and Newport cigarettes, you got yoga studios, well-maintained parks, clean roads, no trash, clean air, no Mad Dog 2020 on every corner store. How is that by accident? And don't no niggers live here? You ain't got no cousins. You ain't got no aunts. You ain't got no uncles. You ain't got no workplace friends that's black that live in Thinsville, Cedarburg, Wauwatosa, West Allis. You ain't got no black people that live out there? Nope. Whitefish Bay? Nope. But not all white people is racist. Okay. And you saying that in Milwaukee like, I see why Luau Cinder had to leave. Like, I'm gonna take my chances with this LA thing, man. Let's see. What else did I learn while I was in Wisconsin? Let's see. The white people lie aggressively. The dating is horrendous. I don't know if I did not hear anything better. The typical black male, black female squabbles. I heard all of that while I was in Wisconsin. They had the tacky naming for the Sade C. Robinson trial as the first date murder trial. I think that was the WISN labeling of it, which I thought was tacky from the very beginning. But I said, we are not intelligent about white supremacy racism. We are not intelligent enough to date. That was confirmed by everything I saw in Milwaukee. Actually, to hear at the trial, I was hearing black people having difficulties with their male-female arrangements and infidelity and oh my gosh and all that. I was even confused because I was like, wait a minute, I thought we were talking about Sade. We talking about Leroy been sneaking around again. That we do not know how to date, and we get distracted with all kinds of foolishness in Area 8. Really, if anything, hey, raise your offspring. We don't have time to date, and we have far greater priorities with our time and energy, like not throwing down trash where black people live and work. Getting speed bumps put up in the neighborhood, maybe to stop people from driving through my front window. But we got much bigger priorities than dating, especially if we're going to be dating white people, so-called. But we got much larger priorities than dating, especially if you're very young, 19 years old. I'm avoiding the quintuple shootings. I'm avoiding victors. I'm avoiding, the twisted fisherman. any of these other pubs and saloons. I'm avoiding all that. I'm doing constructive things with my brain computer so I can help replace white supremacy with justice. Maybe own me some property in Thinsville on the water. I was out there kayaking in Thinsville. Man, them white people, race soldiers in Thinsville, Wisconsin, they got compounds, not a house. They got a compound on the water. Our guide, we were out there kayaking. Of course, I was the only Negro kayaking. I even said, man, that Gus T is a courageous victim of racism. He went kayaking in Thinsville. Ain't no Negroes. You went out in the woods in Wisconsin, 2,000 miles from where you live, out in the woods. Live to tell about it. But man, I'm going to tell you, them white people had compounds out on the river, and our tour guide, white of course, he said, man, the Milwaukee River is 60 miles longer even. It's plus 60 miles. Most of it is not used. They really only use that little 2-mile chunk that runs through the main city. So once you go north, he said, this is unused. It's like all of these white people with their houses, compounds on the river. It's like they got a little private lake in their backyard. And I took pictures. I posted them online. Many of them, you can see, it's like they got their lawn chairs and outdoor patio furniture right on the riverbank. Some of them, you can see they got their canoes and hammocks right by the water. So they got their racially restricted region, and then we got our own racially restricted river. We can go out, fish, kayak, float, swim, meditate, do yoga in the backyard next to the... Man, white people in Wisconsin, matter of fact, sit out in my backyard next to the river, watch old Brett Favre sling that pigskin. What does it mean to be white? Get me a old Milwaukee, get me a brewski, crack one. Forbes had an article that said Milwaukee, drunkest city in America. Duh. Call the ball team the Brew Crew. Drunkest city. Let's see. What else did I... Oh, man, let me tell you about Pete's Fruit. Let me tell you about Pete's Fruit. Look here. If you like beer, they got everything you want in Milwaukee. You can go wild. They got whole beer tours and everything. You can go to the breweries and get all kinds of wacky brews and everything else. Probably get Mad Dog 2022. Gus T, vegan, proud. I forgot how long, 7 years or whatever. Not supposed to be counting, but long time vegan. Is it 8 at this point? Might even be 8 years at this point. Long time. Anywho, Gus T tells folks while I'm there, going to get my produce, fruits. I told you my hotel at first, I'm staying right next to Trader Joe's. I move once I'm staying next to Pizza Shuttle, which is in the east side. I'm next to McKinley Marina. There's a Fresh Time grocery store next to me. I like Fresh Time. Great. I'd never heard. I guess that's a local Wisconsin thing. They had organic produce, healthy produce. Looked like more white people shop there, maybe. But they had lots of black employees, so whatever. And they had yellow watermelon. Delish. Got lots of that while I was there. There was a black person who said, you should check out Pete's Fruits. Now, I think they might be black owned, smaller chain, but they said they have good produce selection, all of that. I said, okay, I'll go check it out. I go to Pete's Fruits. Oh, man. I noted immediately. I live in Seattle. I've been doing organic produce for years. And important because if you live in environments that are contaminated with lead, like Milwaukee, Harriet A. Washington, she talked about, hey, lead, not reversible. Once you've been contaminated, nothing can be done about it, and there are no safe levels of lead. To combat, you want to be healthy. Reduce your levels to exposure to other contaminants, toxins, then eat healthy foods. No pesticides. Get that organic. I didn't see no organic at Pete's Fruits. Now, they had lots of black employees. It might be black owned, but I didn't see no organic fruits. In general, I was not impressed with the produce in Wisconsin. I don't know what their growing conditions are like and all that, but I've said for years, I've, basically lived the last 20 years or so in California and Washington State exclusively. They have amazing produce on the West Coast and lots of, vegan options and all of that. They did have vegan options, vegan eats. I was surprised. I did not eat poorly while I was in Wisconsin, but I was not impressed with their produce. So I'm checking Pete's Fruits, and they did have yellow watermelon, but it was a little bit more pricey than what I saw at Fresh Time. I can even be specific. So they had half of a yellow watermelon, $5.99. I got a whole yellow watermelon for $8. The product, so the produce that they had, I wasn't like, wow, this is the best, most impressive looking produce. No, not really. I wasn't impressed, with the pricing, like, oh, they got good deals or anything. No, not really. And they had lots of items I typically would not see at the places I shop in Seattle, like Snicker bars, candy bars, different types of soda pop. Like the grocery stores that I typically shop at, they don't sell Sprite or Coca-Cola or Reese cups. They had all that stuff at Pete's. So I was not like, if I lived in Milwaukee and if I have to check to see if Pete's is in fact a black-owned store, it would be a really hard sell for me to go to Pete's and shop just to support black sisters and brothers. Like, so you mean now I'm not going to have any organic produce? It's going to be at minimum. It's not like it's a major bargain price-wise shopping at Pete's, so it's not like I'm saving a lot of money. There's no organic produce. They do not have a lot of the products that I would want, organic plant-based things. They do have a lot of things I would not want, high fructose corn syrup, red dye number 40, Snicker bars, Cheetos, that sort of thing. Man, it would be a hard sell to get me to shop at Pete's if I lived in Milwaukee. Like, where's your pride? Where's your black self-respect? At Fresh Time. I'm going to go get, go over there like, man. And then I went to Pete's early when I did not know the geography of where I lived when I moved from my hotel that was in Glendale. And I got closer when I stayed on the east side next to McKinley Marina. Like, wait a minute. There's a Whole Foods 3 blocks from where I live. I am never going to Pete's again. And I didn't. Whole Foods is not even my favorite place to shop. Like, that's not where I shop in Seattle. But I would take Whole Foods over Pete's every day. Jesus. CUDA victims guaranteed qualify for the people who live in Milwaukee and do enjoy Pete's if it's black owned and all that. Bravo. Black self-respect. I'm going to go get my organic garlic at Whole Foods. Let's see. I already talked about the driving dangerously. There's something kind of, I don't even know how to say it, like anachronistic, old-timey about Milwaukee, and I'd say black people who live in Milwaukee specifically. Like, I heard black people arguing about the Bible with each other in Milwaukee. I've heard this before in my life, but not recently. And I heard it like several times in Milwaukee, like black people fussing with each other about the Bible. I didn't go to church while I was in Milwaukee. Maybe I should have. Pray for me. I could have put a little bit in the collection plate and woo, I cannot get trapped in Milwaukee. But I don't know. I didn't hear no black people talking about Neely Fuller Jr. I didn't hear no black people talking about Delectable Negro. I didn't hear no black people talking about sundown towns. I did hear black people complaining about the Bible. I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know how to process it, but I'll put it this way. When I was at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, did lots of research the past week or so. They had a 60 Minutes segment from, this is the news program 60 Minutes, from like 30 years ago. They were talking to Michael McGee, privileged black male in Wisconsin. They had a Black Panther Party chapter in Milwaukee in like the 90s. They got these black people, males and females, out in the street. I'm ready to get a gun and kill Whitey for the way black people are treated in Milwaukee. I'm stunned. It's like 15-minute segment where they're talking about all the racism and how terrible it is for black people in Milwaukee. Duh. I don't know where these people are now. I suspect they're all dead, in jail, black identity extremists, or whatever the case may be. But, man, that black people directly talking about racism, there were a few. Vaughn Mays, I did an interview with him where he had so many brilliant things to say, does lots of great work in the area. Reporting, he was at the trial for C.O.W.S. Robinson, and you'll see on social media where he does daily, hourly sometimes, posting about racism, white supremacy, and black people being impacted in the area. But man, I did not, for what I saw, I did not get a sense like, wow, black people that live here are really intensely focused on. Most of the people at the facial recognition technology meeting were white in a majority black city, where most of the people who opposed the technology cited racism against black people as their reason for opposition. That's what I mean. Like, it might have just been that I wasn't around the correct black people, or I am so lame and, they just didn't want to talk to me. But I just didn't get the sense that black people in Milwaukee, because of the way they are treated, are intensely focused on counter-racism and the system of white supremacy. That was not my sense. I could be in error. Let's see. Anything else? I want to make sure that I get in. Wow, it was a grueling experience. It was difficult to sleep. Just the subject matter of the trial and experiencing all of that. I can't say enough. I said it all during the trial, which you can go in the archives and listen to all of the trial coverage for every day. But you should go to a trial. If there's, it doesn't necessarily have to be a murder trial, but if there's a criminal trial, you can go to court in your area. You should do so and take your offspring. High schools, they came to the C.O.W.S. Robinson murder trial. Whole high school groups, they came to watch and take notes. You can take your children. That's a great environment to learn how to ask questions. Great environment to learn the importance of details, the importance of words. Who are the defendants? You can count how many black males. If you go to a criminal proceeding, how many black males are here for some sort of criminal activity? But man, go to court. That is a spectacular way to learn yourself and to teach others, especially if you have offspring, about the system of white supremacy, racism, counter-racism. You can talk about things that they see, observations. Just go to court in your area. That can be a wonderful learning tool. The jury, so much to learn. But man, traveling now, I can say right now. So I've been to Buffalo, Wisconsin a couple times because I went to La Crosse for the White Privilege Conference. I can say in my 16-year history at the C.O.W.S, Gus T only travels for counter-racist research purposes. We don't do no traveling. Just, oh man, want to spend a couple weeks doing some hiking out in Arkansas. Like, no. We'll spend a couple of weeks just going, put my toes up on the beach in Greece. No. Only counter-racist travel. Buffalo, they do the trial. Having to check the news to see, are they going to start in September? Now, you talk about grueling to go and see C.O.W.S. Robinson in Wisconsin, Milwaukee for 3-4 weeks, to then jet off to Buffalo to cover that trial. I am no fan of Buffalo, very similar to Milwaukee, but oh man, that was the whole reason for going to Buffalo to begin with the first time around. If they do that trial, oh yes, I want to know Max Anderson's ilk, Peyton Gendron. Let's get all the details. Why did you go shoot up that Tops? in May 2022. How did you do this? Did you have help? Is he going to get the death penalty? Which Max should have received for what he did to Sade Anderson. Facts. Anyway, but on to Buffalo. There should be a number of Milwaukee interviews. I think I got to go and get that white brother with the covenant in Whitefish Bay first. We should have a number of Milwaukee guests, visitors on the broadcast to kind of further elucidate what Gus T learned, and even some victims to kind of pick out, what I learned and staying there, the grueling experience of being there for all that time. But wow, I'm so thankful to be back. I'm so thankful that I did not get killed in Milwaukee, shot, may have been lead poisoned. Like I said, I did not drink any tap water the entire time I was there. I made sure that I got lots of bottled water at Trader Joe's and the like. They even had a water filter in the refrigerator, the last place that I stayed at, so people know, or some people are very aware of the water dangers in Milwaukee and even throughout Wisconsin. When I saw some of the lead maps for the whole state, like they have lead problems throughout Wisconsin. You would need a good, so even in some of the racially restricted regions, they have a lead problem. So no tap water, get amazing filters for your water, and then drink lots of water. I giggled so much, like, man, when I talked to Miss Scarborough, have to make sure she is drinking her water, which I have encouraged for months since I've been talking to her. But man, they are having extreme heat in Wisconsin right now, Milwaukee specifically, 95 heat days and all the rest of it. I'm so thankful to have missed out on all of that, because to be in an environment where you don't trust the water, so I can't just go and be guzzling, and even I wouldn't even want to jump in Lake Michigan because it's so toxic and polluted. I would not want to be someplace where you have extreme heat. Your water is poisoned. It's close to 100 degrees. The water is like, woo. You keep all of that, Milwaukee. I am good. I did my serving. Shot if I had to give Yana say, you got any advice, Brother Gus? Run. You did your time in Milwaukee. I think Brother Kareem showed the blueprint. Find a different team, Brother Giannis. Any hoodles. I do want to make sure I include one snippet. I have lots of audio from my time in Milwaukee. I have audio from the facial recognition meeting, whole podcast. I'll upload that in a second. Audio from the meeting in White Folks Bay. Author Thomas Jacobson, upload that in a second. Already heard a lot of the audio interviews and such I did during the trial, Sade C. Robinson's murder trial. This is audio in between that trial. Outside the courthouse, there were black people talking about what happened, and I just happened to pull out and start recording their conversation. They had been talking, and not victim blaming, but pointing out some of the details of the case and saying, wow, like she was talking about Sade Robinson, saying she's going to go and meet this dude who's 33, and wow, he's so much older than her. And I don't know, like, is that, I'll play the segment, but you're picking up a little bit. I missed a little bit of the beginning part of it just because I was not anticipating that they were going to be talking about the Sade C. Robinson trial, but everybody throughout the city, that's what they were talking about. And even still, because the verdict just was a couple weeks ago, are still very much focused on what happened in that case. And especially now that, with the trial, people have more details about exactly what happened and a guilty verdict and all of that. But these are black male, black female talking. They're a little bit older. When I say older, like over 50, giving some of their views about the trial, what happened. But specifically, you'll hear them focusing on, man, like, why did she pick this dude? Like, he's all old, way older than she. Why did she pick this dude, Max Anderson, to go and kick it with? We'll hear what they had to say real quick. Take a brief pause and be back, see if any folks have any thoughts Gus T's excursions in Wisconsin, affectionately known as Mississippi. Context of white supremacy. Let's see.
The white girl word and the white girl was white, and he was white, he didn't even want it. So how is it that a white one that's her color and his color, both of them white, and she didn't see that he was attractive? Right. And then you're going to turn around and have her to be educated in the books. Go turn around and go there and leave and go to his house. And the minute she went to the house, he killed her in the house. Yeah, killed her in the house. Then he cut her up and then took her vehicle and took it basically and started dropping cars all over Lake Michigan. Yeah. And then when he got through, he burned the car up and got on the transit bus. Yeah, on the transit bus, because I watched it on the news when they showed him on the transit bus. Yeah. I said, after he didn't give this previous act.
Context of white supremacy. And even, I'm going to tell you, I went to the Jeff Dahmer tour. I just said that. Star 61, folks have any thoughts, questions? But I did the Jeff Dahmer tour. The white female suspected racist operating the Dahmer tour, Miranda, she said, "What are you doing down here, Brother Gus, in Milwaukee?" I said, "Well, I'm here for the C.O.W.S. Robinson trial." She said, ooh. That guy, he came here and tried to get a job. Here is the bar establishment that operates the Jeffrey Dahmer tour in Milwaukee. She said he came to this here bar and he tried to get a job, but the owner wouldn't hire him because he seemed weird. She continued, Miranda, she said, "That guy, my friend, she met him from Victor's." Now, C.O.W.S. and Max Anderson, before the so-called first date, they met at Victor's the night before April 1st and had drinks there. We watched video surveillance of that during the trial. But she said, my friend at Victor's, he asked her out to date. She said, I don't do that. She said, why? Because he seemed strange. Miranda continued. She said, man, I don't even go to no Victor's because I heard about that place, boy. They will swango you up, slip something in your drink, and you wake up and don't know where my clothes and what you, I don't go to no Victor's. They call it victims. That's what she told me on the Jeff Dahmer tour. Got me a keychain on the Dahmer tour. That conversation came to mind. We non-white people, we, Gus T, none of us. We are not informed about white supremacy, racism, not even Gus T. Neely Fuller Jr. said, I'm not informed about racism myself. That's why I say I'm still learning. You can't be a victim of white supremacy and be smart about racism. But, we are not informed at all. White woman say, I don't even go to victims. Bar called Victor's since been closed because of serving the minors and people that are underage, like C.O.W.S. Robinson. But she said, I don't even go there. Call it victims. They will swango you up. Facts. Any hoodles. What a trip. Send a prayer to the family of C.O.W.S. Robinson, mommy, sister, dad, grandparents, brother, friends, everyone out on the search team. You can visit the website, C.O.W.S. Voice Foundation, to get updates on what's happening, the civil trials. Again, the sentencing on August 1 for convicted killer, suspected racist, Max Anderson, probably killed lots of folks. Man, what an experience. So glad to be back. Shoes are in the trash. On to Buffalo. which is also a return trip. I will have to say, the creator, when that news flash came up, that white fella that killed his children in Washington State, white people do not care about children. That was big news all across the country. I was in Wisconsin. It was big news there because they kept saying, ooh, this dude that killed his children in Washington State, he got ties to Wisconsin. He right here, native in Milwaukee. They got all those wacky names for the cities in Wisconsin and such for the native people that they killed. You can't even get no property in Whitefish Bay either now. They say, yeah, he got property down in Milwaukee. I said, ooh. Then the white fella who went and shot those white lawmakers in Minnesota, they say he also connected to Wisconsin. My flight got rerouted to Minnesota on the way out. I said, wow, that is crazy. Maybe signals from the creator, but it was kind of daily getting messages like, yep, you were supposed to come to Milwaukee. I don't know what I was supposed to see. Whitefish Bay. I don't know, but you are supposed to be in Milwaukee. In fact, it was like waves of those types of messages. We were at the trial. We left for lunch, and the young lady who was on the search team for the remains of Sade, she said, Brother Gus, look at that right there. They say the gingers, because it was a person, right? See, the so-called gingers, you know, they say the gingers are the new blacks. I said, really? I haven't heard that. Yeah, where did you hear that from? She said, they talk about it all the time because, you know, the gingers, they're treated like albinos. You know about the albinos? Yes, I'm familiar with the albinos. Cream City. I'm never going back to Milwaukee. Never going back to Milwaukee. Never going back to Wisconsin if I can help it. I didn't even appreciate until I'd been there a little while, like, it is spectacularly dangerous. You stockpile all the niggers in one little corner of Wisconsin, and now you got us surrounded by all these racially restricted regions. That alone is that you got me someplace that watch it now, Leroy. Ooh, don't you step outside Milwaukee County now, Leroy. You better watch your, like, what? I don't want to be no place like that either. Jesus Christ. And I'm going to tell you how deceitful the white people are in Wisconsin. I said that before I had the data in front of me, that they stockpile all the black people in Wisconsin in Milwaukee. The white fella at the library immediately said, oh, you know that ain't true. They got black people in Sheboygan. You know they got black people up in Green Bay talking that food. And they got my cousin, he live in Madison. They got tons of black people in Madison. We put that map up on the screen for the whole state of Wisconsin, racial demographics. Where do the black people live in Wisconsin? Boy, that map was as pale as a race soldier, except for that one little pocket down in the southeast. Even the white brother next to me said, whoa, whoa, whoa. There ain't no niggers in Wisconsin except Milwaukee. And I said, that's what I said. And I'm getting out of here. That's what I said. Interestingly, Minnesota looked exactly the same. It's next door for people, geography. It looked exactly the same, except I don't even know where they stockpile the niggers in Minnesota. Chris Rock told us ain't no black people in Minnesota but Prince and Kirby Puckett, and I think they are both dead with George Floyd. So I don't even know, where do they keep the black people in Minnesota? Ain't going back there neither. Folks who dialed in with a hand up, let's see. Z's mommy, retired firefighter, should be with us.
Yeah. Z.
should be with us. Z's mommy, retired firefighter. Oh, maybe she's not able to chime in. Let's see. Retired firefighter.
Can I be heard?
Oh, well, now she is. Yes.
My apologies. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple brief comments and wanted to say I appreciated the work you did and the effort you put into going to Wisconsin and gathering a lot of information, interviewing a lot of people. I thought the snippets, I followed the trial reporting you did, and I thought the snippets where you interviewed people who were there were really informative, helped to just, I guess, add a lot of more context. I also thought a lot of your commentary was interesting. I didn't know much about Wisconsin, and I never knew the amount of Black people that lived there, so that was really interesting. I also was in the Midwest earlier this year, and not in Wisconsin, but nearby in Illinois. And I also noticed that the driving there, I think that was probably one of the most unsafe places I've ever felt driving. I was definitely on edge. I noticed multiple people like racing on the freeway at like 5, 6 p.m. People going like 100 plus miles an hour on the freeway. So it just reminded me of that when you saw all of the different accidents that were happening. And yeah, and I also thought it was interesting when you brought up Pete's, because I never went in there. For some reason, I always saw the signs, and it just, something about it, the food just didn't look like it would be good. Like the produce didn't look like it would be good. So I think it's interesting that you actually went in and you didn't find anything worthwhile there. I had some sort of inclination. I don't know. I just had a feeling that it wouldn't be good. But I just really appreciated the Wisconsin reporting in general. I'm very excited to hear the interviews that will be coming up soon. And I think that's all I had to say for now.
Much obliged, Z's mommy in California. Now, she's spoiled with all of that California produce, and also a plant-based eater who can appreciate a quality plum, peach batch of spinach from time to time. Now, she and I shared our experience about shopping at Berkeley Bowl, because she lives not in the Berkeley area now, but has shopped there, and talked about, oh man, they have so many fruits and produce I had not seen before. And wow, it's amazing. I said, that's the first time that I saw yellow watermelon, Berkeley Bowl. And I loved it going to California so I could go back and shop at Berkeley Bowl again. I did not have none of that enthusiasm and joy at Pete's. None. 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 I left and went to Whole Foods. and then, as I said, was furious once I realized, whoa, Whole Foods is on the same street as my Airbnb. I'm never going to Pizza. Like, whoa. Anyway, yes, there are Black people in Wisconsin, but they are all in Milwaukee County, except like that. And matter of fact, even when we were going around and they were looking at different regions of Wisconsin, like, oh, look, Sheboygan, it's 3 Black, and sometimes it would literally, it'd be, ooh, it's 3 Black people in this county. Yikes, especially once you get to like north part. Oh man, ain't no Black people in Wisconsin outside of Milwaukee County. It would be like 5 Black people, 10 Black people. The white fella at the library, he said this is the same white person who had lied to me before. He said, oh, hush it, Gus. You know it's Black people all over Wisconsin. We don't do no racism. Not all white people is racist. Get on out of here with all that. He came back and said, oh, man, you know, Brother Gus, when it shows 5 Black people live in a county, or 3 Black people live in a county, or 10 Black people live in a county, they're probably all inmates, which is exactly what James Lowen told us in Sundown Towns. retired firefighter in Florida, where they do not pile all of the black people up in Jacksonville or Miami-Dade County like they do in Wisconsin.
Greetings, Gus. Welcome back. I was just curious about the ethnicity of the white people in Milwaukee and in the greater state of Wisconsin.
They do a lot of that so-called white ethnic whites. They have a lot of that in Wisconsin. They had the Polish. Now I said I went to the Puerto Rican festival while I was there, which I did. I did not attend the Polish festival. Oh, excuse me. They had the Italian festival while I was there. They do have the Polish festival. I didn't attend that either, but I don't think that happened while I was there. But the Italian festival did. They had that. They have the German festival. It just goes. I know they have St. Patrick's Day is a big thing there. Like they have all kinds of so-called white ethnics and that's on the map. I think that's on one of the maps that I took because black people didn't move to Milwaukee in like the mass numbers that you see now. That is like really late. Black people didn't start moving to Milwaukee until like the 1960s. So 1930s, 40s, 50s, all that. You see all of that, like all of these European whites who moved in, and you'll see that distinction in the different neighborhoods that they have, where this, might be. They had in the trial, they called where Maxwell Anderson lived a Polish flat, and they went on to explain that that's it's a horizontal duplex, and that goes to that so-called white ethnics who migrated into that region of the Midwest, Germans, Poles, Scandinavians, the Nordic whites moved Illinois and all that, Minnesota even, who moved into that region during the 20th century. So that is still very much reflected in the neighborhoods and all the goofy festivals and even the types of beer that they brag about and get drunk on in the region. But at the end of the day, we are white. That is the big thing. We might have our little ethnic breakdowns or whatever, but I mean, hey, they don't do no I'm German white or Polish white. I am white, and they still go about the business. They don't do no breakdowns of that in Whitefish Bay. Like, I don't remember seeing this is the Polish part of Whitefish Bay or the whatever part of Whitefish Bay. Like, all of that is very much spelled out on the maps before, that you would have whole German areas and Polish areas and all of that. Now, white, Negra part of town, so-called Latino part of town, Hmong part of town, Laotian part of town. Remember some of Jeff Dahmer's victims, Laotians. They have their section of town, that sort of thing. But white stands alone altogether. But they do have their little white ethnic flair and festivals and such in the region. I missed some of those while I was there.
Yeah, I was just curious about it because I figured with all of that beer, and it probably is a lot more types of alcoholic beverages other than beer, of course, that it would be for the most part German, and the face of the killer that was on trial looks similar to some of those many Nazi pictures that I've seen. This big goonish looking type of look he always had on his face. I was just thinking about that. But I understand from the standpoint of all of those beer factories that's in the state itself, and I would figure a lot in Milwaukee that would be one of the means to promote speeding, driving fast and reckless driving, that sort of thing. Other than that, with non-white people, race classified as black, the only history that I knew about it was from reading a couple of books about Vince Lombardi and some of the players that some of the black players that he hired, and a couple of them were actually NFL Hall of Famers, and the mistreatment that they went through while they were in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I recall, and that's what I was just thinking about.
That's in the northern part of the state too, Green Bay. Whew, we had read that before I went there. We were once a family. Ain't no Negras in Green Bay. Brett Favre and them. Matter of fact, you can ask Jordan Love now. How many Negro neighbors you got in Green Bay? 0. Unless he lives close to a penitentiary. 0. You better bring some of your teammates, cousins, so you can get your parents to move out there and then make it prominent. We play for the Packers. We are not looters, rapists. We don't work for the sanitation department either. We're not inmates. We did not break out of prison. We play for the Packers. In fact, I'm the quarterback, QB1 for the Packers, man. See, I took over Brett Favre and them, Aaron Rodgers. Calm down. Man, woo, ain't no Negras in Green Bay, which I already knew, but woo, now to go there and ain't no Negras in Green Bay, which would further reinforce when Heather Huff for the Milwaukee Police Department talking about, hey man, they use the facial recognition technology at the Packer Stadium. I wouldn't know, because ain't no Negras in Green Bay. So I don't go to no Packer games in person. I just watch it on the TV safely at my Reddit. I don't go to the saloon to watch the Packers play no football. Woo. You talk about it, Sade Robinson went to the saloon, see? Matter of fact, while I was in Milwaukee, I told you I found the marker for George Marshall Clark, only lynching victim that they acknowledge in Milwaukee. He was at the saloon. That's where all this started. Cowbell. Jeff Dahmer, what I tell you, he go to the saloon. See if I can find me some dark people. Let me tell you one more I got from taking the Jeff Dahmer tour. Miranda took us over. We're downtown, and we went to, I got the pictures. So 219 is one spot where he got a bunch of people that he killed. We walked south of 219. She picked out a building. She said there was a flamboyantly gay owner of this establishment. She said she said he was so gay, his dog was gay. And he hired underprivileged. He said, oh, I got to get the down and out people who had a hard time, and I like the children. I like children who having a tough time and need a hand up. So he would hire them and give them a job and a place to stay. She said, now, of course, people who like to take sexual advantage of children flocked to this establishment. Did I say, Jeff, he was a registered sex offender? Matter of fact, one of Sade Robinson's co-workers at Pizza Shuttle, he said Quincy, privileged black male, who was hit by a car, Quincy said, man, that Max dude was 33, Sade 19, he like a pedophile. Why you going to get somebody, she just graduated high school? Facts. But Miranda said, so the flamboyant gay dude, he got this spot and he wants the children, help them out, underprivileged, they need a little help, all that, and all the sex offenders, like Jeff Dahmer, they just flock to this establishment. Now, this place now, downtown, lots of white people live here. Okay? It's next to a pickleball court that, help you grasp. I said, so are these children, are these white children, black children? Miranda dropped that history lesson on Gus T. so great. He said, Brother Gus, you are confused. Let me help you out here. Milwaukee has been gentrified. This was the Negro part of town 30 years ago, so Jeff would have been the only white person. He would have stood out just like his apartment facility at 25th and Kilbourne. This is Negreville. What are you even doing here, Jeff? Oh, you hunting niggers. Oh, okay, okay. Whoa. When that was one, I was like, ew. So if I hadn't been on the tour, do they normally explain this as this was a hunting ground for people who like to sexually rape black children? This was known as the spot to come. And in fact, the rewind was whoop, 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 whoop. So this area for the Jeff Dahmer tour where he stalked and killed black people, black males, this area was the red light district in the 90s. Miranda said, ooh-wee, anything you can think of or want to do sexually, and I mean anything, you come here and you can do it. No criminal persecution. And then later on, after I asked questions, she said, oh, this was the Negro part of town. Won't no white people here except Jeff. That is black culture. Do something strange for some change for white folks. Sometimes you don't even get no change. Because Jeff said, you want to do something strange for some change? And then they didn't even get paid. He just killed them and ate them and put the skull in the refrigerator. But that's black culture. Get you vulnerable and weak and confused and hungry, desperate. Do anything. Would you come back and take my clothes off? Okay. You can give me 25? Okay. We've heard that many, many times. Many times. In fact, sometimes we'll do it voluntarily. I don't even need no change. Anyway, I was so staggered on that when I had to, and I did get the books even from the Dahmer tour. Got to the end, and she said, we do get most of our material from, oh my God. Woo! Remember we had Dr. Judith Fatala as a guest on the program? She's from the other part of the world, so I know she ain't never been to Milwaukee. And she was talking like Jeff was in some sort of romantic situation. He was dating these black people and victims and all that. Not to mention some of them were children. Miranda brought that up. She said, I don't know if you watch TV. Did you see the Netflix Dahmer? No. Said, oh, good. She said, you know, they got that part where they show Jeff and he's out dating the black fella and they go out to the movies and eat popcorn. I don't know, but white people lie a lot. She didn't say it that way. She said, I don't know, that ain't true. They made that. I don't know why they made that up and but Jeff ain't date nobody. Jeff killed. Jeff ain't do no dating. Jeff talked about all that. He went out and lied to people. You want to do something strange for some change? That's what Jeff said. We weren't in no relationship that went sour. They just lied to the people on Netflix. He said we went by the evidence. We got books that we go and read, to study, to take people on the Dahmer tour. I don't know if it's in the book that you got a fella. Man, I should have got the name. Who owned this establishment where it's set up to rape black children? Who was this? This was widespread, like people knew, oh yeah, you want to go and rape some black boys, black girls. Woo, right there. But that is black culture. Ongoing and all around the world. That is black culture. Anyway, and black people smoke a lot of cigarettes in Milwaukee. I said that about Buffalo too, for sure. We smoke cigarettes in Seattle. Lots of black people smoke cigarettes in Seattle. I'm no fan of cigarette smokers, but woo, they smoke lots of cigarettes. And in fact, I was at the University of University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, doing my research. They got a documentary. Black people take black children, some of them as young as 10, 8. They take them around the city of Milwaukee, and they go to a variety of convenience stores. This is in like the 90s. This is not ancient history. They go to these convenience stores to see if they can purchase tobacco and liquor. And they do. They record them, go buy cigarettes, come back. How did you do it? Give me a couple of Lucy's. They come back with their Newports, man. Woo! Anyway, but they show a 17-year-old privileged black male go into the store, and he comes out with a bottle of Mad Dog 2020 Kiwi Lemon. Show the receipt and everything. They pause from their project to give a tutorial on the history of Mad Dog 2020, the correct name for Mad Dog 2020, and why black people rebranded it Mad Dog 2020. Black culture is Saturday night. I'm black and I'm dangerous. And I did observe, Z's mommy said they get out there and they do drag racing on the freeway at 6 p.m., not 6 in the a.m. They got to drag race at 6 p.m. and run over top of your 12-year-old on his bicycle. I saw that. Not the running over the bicycle part, but the drag racing, broad daylight, middle of the, oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I got to pray just to cross the street out here. Incidentally, I felt safer crossing the street in Whitefish Bay. But it's dangerous in Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Woo, Lord Jesus. Make sure anything else. They do have a lot of beats. They say, Brother Gus, is there anything that you liked about Milwaukee? Miss Scarborough. Was it anything? I like McKinley Beach, but it is really toxic, and I do look for human remains when I'm on Lake Michigan, because that's where Sade was discarded. And, I mean, I live in Seattle where we have a lot of beaches. So, yeah. I like McKinley Beach, and they have a variety of beaches. Volunteer Park is very nice, but man, that would not be a trade for everything you would have to endure to live in Milwaukee. So thankful to be back. My prayers for everyone who's there. And I missed the heat wave. Like, that was the greatest planned trip ever. Leave on Memorial Day, come back on June. And I said it'll be like the Escape from Milwaukee, and it was. I would have hated it even more to be there during the middle of a heat wave with poisoned water. I would even have two thoughts about going to get in the swimming pool. Wait a minute. Is this the same lead water that we can't drink in the school? Because they had updates on that the whole time. Matter of fact, I had a black female who told me, she said, one thing I like about Milwaukee, and this is the way she said it, she said, the schools, you could be someplace where they have way worse schools, which I thought was curious, because it wasn't like she said, we have great schools, or I like the schools. She said, the schools are a lot worse in some places than what we have here in Milwaukee. And I really had to think about that, because the whole time I was there, we got new schools added to our lead remediation program. We got new schools closed down early because of lead in the schools. We got new programs that talk about what we're going to do to test more children in the schools because of the lead in Milwaukee public schools. That's all I've been hearing for months. And the report, they said 24 children fatally shot in Milwaukee public schools. And ho hum. That's the attitude, like, hey, could have been 30. Ho hum. That's what I was at. And do you want to know the crusher? The crusher for the exit, I told you it was black males. You are especially in danger in Milwaukee. I was listening to a report at the library before I departed. This was from 2007. I saw no evidence that anything has changed in the 20 years since. But this was, I wrote this. I'm going to see if we can get him as a guest on the program as well. Just don't have the page up where I wrote his contact information and all down. But black male, professor, University of Washington, he was doing a report from 20 years ago, and he said, in Milwaukee public schools, the graduation rate for black males is about 35%. 35%. This was Dr. David J. Pate, Jr., privileged black male. 35. That means 2 out of every 3 privileged black males in Milwaukee high school dropout. They got facial recognition cameras for you, buddy. I was staggered. In fact, I heard that and I told you I was not looking for no black Miss Andre. Just racism. Just racism. That sort of thing happened repeatedly. Where I told you it was granular level statistics. I came here to learn about Sade Robinson. Yeah. Let me tell you what we do to the black male. Matter of fact, I went to the American Black Holocaust Museum. When I tell you the granular level, what did they say? They said Milwaukee's 53206 zip code is 95% black and has the highest incarceration rate in the country for black males. I added that last part, but let me continue. As of 2010 U.S. Census, 12.8% of black male residents of Wisconsin were incarcerated. The national black male incarceration rate was then 6.7%. As of the 2010 census, 1.2% of white male residents of Wisconsin were incarcerated. 1.2 white males, 12.8% of black males. Just in Milwaukee, he said 35% of the black males in public schools graduate high school. 35%. Whew. And I already told you, they don't even give black males driver's licenses in Wisconsin. That was a part of how they explained why you don't have no niggers on the juries, and they had whole reports about that while I was there, saying that probably contributes to some of the recklessness on the road. You got a lot of black dudes with no driver's license, drag racing, driving on your porch, who dropped out of high school. I am never going back to Milwaukee. And I will close with this. Our failure to understand white supremacy, racism, what it is, and how it works. If I was in an environment like that, if I had to live there for whatever reason, I would have to have an extraordinary code, like an extraordinary code, an extraordinary, and a whole lot of it would have to be, hey, I'm not messing around with you. Not all white people is racist victims. Y'all gonna have to beat it. Like no, zero. Don't call me. Don't cross the street when you see me coming, because I don't want to hear nothing about it. Now, not Lori Bird is a cool white woman. Not all white people is right. Cool, beat it. Go hang out with Lori. sobriety. We can't do no drinking because that is alcohol everywhere. I've been to the museum before. I ain't been to the museum where they got pictures of beer. They got pictures of beer at the museum in Milwaukee. White fella had 2 pictures of beer. I was sitting down, eating my produce, having a fruit snack from the Milwaukee Art Museum. He said, man, you need a beer. I'm going to go back inside, Lord. What I said, white people and alcohol. Look, Sade C. Robinson. White people and alcohol. Really, George Marshall Clark. White people, alcohol. Hey, let me get the classic. Jeff Dahmer. White people, alcohol. Already know, ain't nothing good gonna come of this. Any hoodles. Woo! I am so thankful. Pray for all the black people in Wisconsin. Maybe you can send them a nickel or something. I don't know. Send them some tips on safe driving. Wear your seatbelt. Dangers of alcohol consumption. Remember, do they have that information in Milwaukee? Because the baseball team is called the Brewers. Do they have that report? They say consumption of alcohol, anything more than 1 drink per week, is leading to cancer. Did they get that report in Milwaukee? Anyway, I am so glad to be out. I'm never going back to Wisconsin. I am never going back to Wisconsin. I am never going back to Wisconsin. If somebody say, hey, Gus T, to replace white supremacy with justice, we need you to go to the sentencing of Max Anderson in August. We'll give you $1 billion. And in fact, we'll be halfway to replacing white supremacy with justice. Amazing things are going to happen. We just need you to go and cover the sentencing. I would have to fly in that morning. Let me get there at like 7:30. I need to leave the same day. Flight out 4 p.m. It's the sentencing. It'll be quick. 4 p.m. I'm gone. You need a hotel room? No, you don't. No, I don't. We're leaving the same day. I'm not stopping for coffee. Plane, courthouse, plane. That's what it's going to look like. You don't want to go to the art museums? Plane, courthouse, plane. And hope I don't get ran over, shot, beaten up in between. It is real violent. I played on it. Plane, courthouse, plane. Anybody need to check in? You better ride back with me to the plane. Ride back with me to the airport, because I am not kicking it in Milwaukee. No time. Most dangerous place I have been. I think it's worse than California. I mean, L.A. specifically. I think it's more dangerous. It's a lot more people in Los Angeles. Like, loads more people. Milwaukee isn't even that big to be out of this world. And I don't remember them driving up on your porch and in your living room in L.A. They predictably will drive up in your house in Milwaukee. So L.A. isn't surrounded by sundown towns either, racially restricted regions. Unless I've been misinformed. I mean, I didn't see that while I was in, unless I really was distracted while I was in L.A. But I don't think L.A. is surrounded by racially restricted regions. Anyway, Compton, right? Oh, that's a part of L.A. That doesn't count. Anyway, we'll be back as I get my bearings and just adjust to being back on Pacific time and all the rest of it. But visit the foundation, Sade's Voice Foundation.org. Prayers for Miss Scarborough and Sade's sister, the rest of her family and relatives as they try to heal from all of this. At least got killer off the street, keep people in Milwaukee a little bit safer, having one race soldier murderer caged. hopefully they won't have any loopholes or technicalities to let him loose. Check the updates, Facebook, all the rest for social media for updates. And really, once I kind of get my bearings, I will have the audio uploaded. Get that facial recognition meeting uploaded. Facts. Get that meeting in White Folks Bay uploaded. Facts. Pronto. If they have any sort of facial recognition camera meeting or discussion with law enforcement in your area, you should attend. This was on Zoom, so you didn't even have to go in person. You could have watched it comfortably from your residence. Attend. And I forgot the other metaphor that was used, Heather Huff with the Milwaukee Police Department. She said the facial recognition, they already have it at the Green Bay facility and they already have it at TSA. She said, you already have it on your phone. That's how you can unlock and get your iPhone open, is the facial. Boop, scan your face and, oh, okay, that's you, Leroy. Man, I already told you. I had an attorney here in Washington State say, do not ever use facial recognition to unlock your phone, and shame on you if you do. This was an attorney. What was her reason? She said, hey, it seems like it might be a law enforcement tactic if you have your phone out and you are recording them or trying to call someone for help, call your attorney maybe, or whatever, to knock the phone out of your hand accidentally, wink, wink, and then if it locks, they just run it across your face. Now I can unlock it and get access to all your information, contacts, who you've been calling, everything. No facial recognition to unlock your phone. So all of the examples that she cited, I would not use. And most importantly, all of the examples that were cited were voluntary use. You are talking about mandatory facial recognition for all of the niggas of Milwaukee. And we get this technology for free thanks to black males that we have locked up. Maybe they did something. Maybe they didn't. But hey, call it payback for all these no-count niggers with no driver's license who done drove over your flower bed. How about that? Doing street takeovers and the like. Doing donuts out in the road. How about that? Drag racing on the freeway and we trying to get home from work. How about that? Now, Leroy done got on our nerves. Giannis too. Now, anything else folks need to share before we wrap up? Everyone satisfied?
One thing I did want to say, sorry, just to add one thing. I did look up a lot of the reviews of the two restaurants that Sade and Max went to. And they've had reviews saying that they've been serving underage people, like 15-year-olds getting drunk there, since at least the early 2010s. So I'm really hoping that they do get sued by her mom and closed.
I heard that repeatedly while I was there. I've been drinking there since I was 14 years. And incidentally, we had a Cows listeners who wrote in who apparently they may have some sort of goofy law in Wisconsin. White people do not care about children. And in fact, you can add this. Why is the road so dangerous? Maybe because they allow 14-year-olds to buy Mad Dog 2020. Anyway, I heard that repeatedly while I was there. People saying that I've been drinking since I was 14. I've been going to the bar since I was 14. I've been going to Victor's since I was 15. I said at the trial, the white proprietor of Victor's, he said, Max has been coming in here and drinking for 20 years. And I said, wait a minute, pause, sidebar, wait a minute, time out, something. He's 34. Has he been drinking there since he was 14? Now, everyone looked at me like I was retarded. Apparently, I don't live here. Yes, fool, you don't drink at 14? No. But apparently in Wisconsin, this is a part of the local law where it's something if your parents okay, I don't know if they have to sign like a permission slip or if they have to accompany you, but there's some allowance that if you are 14 and your parents say they're cool with it, you can go to Victor's and get a mojito or shot of tequila or, whatever. Apparently this is legal. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'd have to double check, but I mean, it's like racks. I heard racks and racks and racks of people. They didn't say they snuck into their parents' liquor cabinet and, I siphoned a little bit of their stuff. I went to Victor's, walked in tough. I sat at the bar, got me a frosted mug. I did about 12 rounds. Told stories about 5th grade and everything. What? And then I rode over Miss Patterson's rose bush on the way out. But shh, keep them. You see what I did to her mailbox? Man, lamest place I have ever been. And the civil suit. I'd say if I did have to go back to Milwaukee, which I'm not, I would hope Miss Scarborough got like racks of beachfront property. She'd have C.O.W.S. Sanctuary. Be a hotel for black people. Beachfront. Crime victims can come sit. She can have conferences. Have a conference room. They can put up pictures of Sade there from her graduation and such. And you go to the conference room and overlook Lake Michigan and all that. And that'll be courtesy of Victor's and Twisted Fishermen, and Dukes on all these old lame players, saloons, and taverns. Yeah, because I know you didn't have no permission slip from Miss Scarborough saying, it's cool, I'm all right with you serving my daughter who is underage. I'm cool with you serving her shots and drinks. I know you didn't have that. Her playing beer pong at your establishment for an hour. Now you got a criminal conviction too. Write the check. She should have big time beachfront property by the time, because there's lots of just line up and write the checks, because they got it on camera too. Write the checks. C.O.W.S. Sanctuary. Beachfront. Maybe she could be McKinley. They got lots of beaches down there. She can just pick one that she likes and get to it. Oh, I forgot even all of that. They're putting the memorial up in Warnemont Park, which is not Milwaukee. It's Cudahy. Don't know Negroes live in Cudahy. They had all that kerfuffle. We don't want no tax dollars going to no Negro monument. You don't take our tax dollars. I thought this monument was in Milwaukee. No. I didn't know Cudahy is not Milwaukee. Whitefish Bay is not Milwaukee. This is a racially restricted region where they said, oh my God, you're not going to put no monument up to no Negro who was killed. She didn't even live here. We don't even have Negroes in Cudahy. What are you doing putting it? And that's exactly it. They said, this isn't Gus T said it was racist. They reported on the news locally. We were flooded with racist emails about putting a monument in Cudahy. Racially restricted Cudahy. Geography is important. West Allis. You need one more? West Allis. That's where Jeff Dahmer's grandma lived. West Allis, racially restricted region. They don't have no Negroes in West Allis. Stop. That's why I said Milwaukee, especially. Then you're going to stockpile all the Negroes in one spot and then put racially restricted regions. Really, the entire rest of the state is one big racially restricted region, and have them all around Milwaukee. Watch it, Leroy. Watch it, Leroy. Watch it, Leroy. Indeed. That's why I said Mississippi is cute, but it's not accurate. They let black people move all around Mississippi. They just whack you and beat you down wherever you go. That ain't Wisconsin. Ooh, you're going to be in one spot. We didn't make Green Bay for you. We didn't make Sheboygan for you. We didn't make La Crosse for you. We didn't make Fond du Lac and Madison. We didn't make that for you. Cedarburg. We didn't make that for you. Thinsville. We didn't make that for you. We got kayaking out in Thinsville, Leroy. You can't even spell kayak, you high school dropout, 35%. Sobriety would be best, especially if you live in Milwaukee. Do not waste non-white people's time and energy. We got to escape Milwaukee. Plan for Buffalo. No name calling black people. No producing throwaway offspring. No drinking liquor with white people. Cal signing out. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.